Amanda Stewart. I'm your hostess of Trade Secrets. This is my podcast. And welcome you today. I love the person I'm talking to today. We go way back. This is Trent Slatton. Trent is an engineer. He's a singer. He's a guitar player. He's a songwriter. And now he's a studio owner. Be careful what you wish for. Trent, thank you so much for coming here today. And it's pretty unscripted. I really only ask one question. Mm-hmm. And this will be an easy one. Most people know the answer. Where were you born?
I was born in El Cajon, California. And that is Spanish for the box. I was born in the box.
Well, is that why a cajon's called a cajon?
Yeah.
The thing that you beat on like a drum?
It's a box, cajon.
Did anybody else know that but me?
Yeah,
I did not know that.
Yes. Yeah, so it's a box. That's
and mom and dad, what did they do?
My dad's an architect, and he's still working at 90. He's insane. And my mom
was a mom.
She was a mom, and a school teacher as well, and a total boho, total bohemian.
And she's still with us, and she's 90.
She's still with us. Both my parents are weird, man.
You gonna live forever, bro. God willing. And siblings?
I don't know. I got 3. I got a brother and 2 sisters. I'm the youngest. I'm the baby. I kind of got spoiled.
Did you grow up in El Cajon?
Yeah.
I don't even know where that is.
It's in San Diego County, and it's probably about 20 miles east of the ocean. And it's in a valley that's surrounded by hills, or I wouldn't call them mountains, by hills. That's why it's called the box.
Beautiful desert terrain, or no?
Scrub.
Scrub?
Scrub.
Yeah.
Yeah. It kind
like
of
Joshua
sucked.
Tree vibe?
A little better than that,
Those of you from Joshua Tree, that is not
sorry.
slow.
No, I mean, it's a little more, it's not as arid as that.
Oh, not as deserty.
Yeah, it's not. Okay. No, it's not really deserty. It's kind of, I don't know.
California
Probably like
Valley.
being in San Fernando Valley or wherever the viewers are.
Was there other people in your family that were interested in music?
No, not really. I mean, my brother and my dad, we were all into music because my dad played records. Like my dad had this he built a Heath kit. I wish I still had that sucker. It was like this tube preamp, and it was Heath kit. And I don't you kids out there, it was a kit you could buy, and you could build your own stereo. My dad was so proud of it, but he never bought the part that covered the tubes, or maybe it was meant that way. And we kept it in a we had this bitch in the house.
Did it overheat?
No, it didn't overheat, but it was like it collected dust. And so we had it in this closet. Like we had a really cool house that had like a closet that he turned into the hi-fi closet, and he had like the first set ever of Bose speakers because he was all into that. So I guess they were into music, and like he would like rock his Chris Christopherson.
Oh, nice.
And and yell at us for
Joan Baez.
Yeah, and yell at us for like not treating the thing right, or like don't set anything on top of it, the tubes will melt it, and because we had a TV, remember the TV changer, you had to get up and change the channel.
Oh yeah, well, up off your ass.
And we used to flip it around the dial, and he'd get so pissed off over that. And then one day we broke it off, and he was like, I see. And then we had a pair of freaking vice grips locked to it, and that's how we
all
changed
had those on our TV. Everybody
awesome.
had those on their TV, a pair of vice grips, because you broke the controller on the channel changer on the TV. But that's funny. We had one of those too, where we had like needle nose pliers.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
So funny. It's interesting about the Heathkit thing because my dad was like a ham radio operator back in World War II. He's long gone. Yeah. But I remember we had this similar mindset towards electronics. He was an electrical engineer. But we had the console where there was the TV, the turntable flipped down, and then the speakers folded out.
I love that shit.
And I remember the first time I heard the Beatles, I think I was like 5 on that thing. But now your older siblings, did they influence your musical tastes at all?
Yeah, of course. I mean, my brother, like, he had Zeppelin and Sabbath and stuff. And
Zeppelin is a common thread.
Zeppelin's common thread.
Even people younger than us.
And, and I was, and I don't know, I guess my dad got a Sonny and Cher record, and I was like, I don't know, 5 years old and obsessed with Cher. I just thought she was so hot.
She is. She
I was
was
probably
and
playing
is.
with my 5-year-old weenie or something like with Cher. I just remember like going.
By the way,
"Oh,"
that's
and
a
my-
great name for a band, 5-year-old weenie.
Yeah.
That's freaking awesome.
or however old I was. And then it wasn't until I got older that I realized like she couldn't really sing as good
I
as she
actually
looked.
think she was pretty good, you know? I mean,
She's got a vibe. I mean, she's got her own sound.
she's got a vibe. She's got a vibe.
Yeah, I shouldn't say anything.
And
bad
she's
about
beautiful, and God bless Sonny, and God bless
Herb
the
Alpert. Like my
promo.
dad used to rock Herb Alpert in the Tijuana Brass. And
Oh,
so, like,
yeah, dude.
And so then when like fast forwarding to now, when I found out this studio I have, the console came out at A&M, and like we were trying to find out if it was actually Herb's personal desk, and I don't think it is now, but you know,
We'll get there.
It doesn't matter.
We'll get to the
Moving forward,
to the current
yeah,
phase.
but no one was like, I mean, my brother had records, and then my sister probably had disco, and
But
before
nobody played an
disco,
instrument
no
or
one played
anything.
an instrument. And I just remember growing up with the Monkees, and we'd tape a yardstick onto a cereal box and play air guitar to the Monkees and stuff.
I love it.
was
You know,
weird.
we're at East West Studios, where I had the good fortune to be the manager, and we're sitting in the main lobby. But one of the fun facts about Studio 2 is that a lot of the music for the Monkees was recorded in Studio
Yeah,
2. All that's Boyce and Hart. That's the writer duo
oh.
that wrote most of those songs for
Yeah,
the
whatever
for the
Nesmith,
Monkees.
didn't
Yeah.
contribute to.
And Mickey Dolenz, and well, we'll get to the Michael Nesmith connection. But what I was going to say is, when did you first, after the air guitar, yardstick, and box, when did you first pick up a guitar? Did you tell your parents you wanted a guitar?
I did my first.
was it another
It was
instrument?
another instrument. So I don't know. My mom was always like, well, I'll preface this. My sister, my older sister, who you met a couple weeks ago,
Tara. Sorry,
You always
Tara.
screw that up. It's more common Tara, but anyways,
Tara.
she was an amazing athlete. She's my next oldest sibling.
Super
and
cool.
My siblings used to just beat the hell out of me.
Dude, that's what older brothers and sisters do. They beat
if
your
I
ass.
could go a day without crying. I even
Aw.
had an uncle that would give me a quarter for every day I could go without crying, and they would try and they wanted to make me broke.
Trent's not a pussy. He took the
I
beatings.
kind of am. I'm a fancy boy. So I wanted to play sports really bad, and so I played baseball, and I just sucked at it.
It keeps coming up that people can become musicians because they weren't jocks.
Yeah, I mean, I tried. I really wanted to, because my sister, she like lettered in 3 sports one year: track, baseball, and softball or whatever, and basketball. And so she was kind of like, I looked up to her because she was the closest in age to me. And she also defended me. Like, she broke some kid's arm because he beat up on me. Like,
Nice.
She flipped him, and she just meant to flip him. And so no one messed with me through elementary school
Yeah.
because of my sister, which is kind of funny.
Dude, kind of in my house, it was more like I protected David.
Yeah, see?
You know?
Yeah, there's
Even though I
always-
was younger.
Yeah, exactly.
Girls are fearless, more so than people give
my
us credit
sister
for.
was a badass.
So
I
what was the first instrument?
flute. I took choir, but then my brother had Jethro Tull, and I'm like, I'm gonna rock this flute.
I'm going to be Ian Anderson.
It was so cool, and I had my mom, bless her heart. I think my parents might have been divorced. They divorced when I was like 11, and she probably busted her ass and cleaned floors and did all this stuff to I think the first thing is you could rent the instrument. And I think
Right.
we rented it, and then I kind of stuck with it, and she bought the damn flute, And
So you were a flautist.
I was a flautist.
Dude, not an
But I
easy
never
instrument.
really got good with it, and I just kind of flunked out of it. And then I think that's around the time where I really heard, besides all the Motown stuff my parents were rocking, when I started hearing Zeppelin and Sabbath, I was like, I got to get a guitar. And-
Now that I think about it, there's really no major rock band, classical or otherwise, in rock that has a flute other than Jethro Tull.
No, and they're a badass band in that era. I mean, the
Oh, dude.
guitar player, and then they had the bass player who had the great name John Glasscock. which I always
Yes,
thought
yes.
was-
It's funny. I had a
hard to
friend
live
in
with that
junior high
name.
school named Leslie Glasscock, and I never connected that dot. That's crazy.
it's like, don't fuck him too hard.
From the Peanut Gallery, I'll ask a question. The other day, someone was mentioning a famous flautist who is the flautist that was so famous? James Galway? Like the
yes.
city of Galway?
Yeah,
Sir James Galway.
That's
and
the
they were like,
only
don't you know who
famous-
that is? And I'm like,
I wouldn't have known that.
I feel bad. So to those of you who are
Yeah.
flautists and future flautists, say that quickly.
It's a cool.
Don't give
instrument.
up. You
Yeah.
can be famous playing the flute.
I think it's cool. I like the bass flute. It's really what you don't see often.
What is a bass flute?
It's bigger and longer and
it's got lower notes.
Lower. It sounds lower. It's the Barry White of flutes.
But wait, how does... So flutes are reed instruments like oboes?
No, they're complete. They have no reed. They're just you blow in a hole and it goes in at an angle and it makes a noise.
And
it's
there's no reed in a flute?
There's no reed in a flute. So it's like a trumpet.
What?
It's in the trumpet category. It really should be. It really
like
should be considered
cornet?
Brass. I guess it really.
What is the recorder?
The recorder's a recorder. I think it wants to be a reed instrument, but I don't even think you put a reed in it. So it's like in the class of flute. It's air gets forced through a smaller hole than it should be, or something, and it makes a noise. It goes.
So it's like a whistle.
It's kind of like a whistle. Yeah, yeah. A recorder's like a whistle, but a flute has no. I'm telling you, it's just a hole in this mouthpiece, and you kind of blow in from the top, like you kind of use your lip to angle your upper lip to angle the wind down, and so it's.
And that's how you control. And
that's how you control. It does have keys and stuff.
Yeah.
But you're kind of controlling the whole, sound. No reed.
Dude, this 2015.
Shit, yeah, man, I'm loving it.
I was closing my eyes trying to see if I could actually, and it definitely tastes different than a regular non-vintage Verve.
It definitely does. Yeah. You know what it doesn't have is, like, as much as we both love champagne, and it comes with the territory, most champagne has a little bit of a bitterness to it.
Yeah, this
to me, and
this
it
is
just
very
doesn't
yeasty.
have it. Yeah, but
It's
it's
very-
yeasty,
like.
but it doesn't have that little bitter thing that.
If you smell it, it's on the verge of turning, but it doesn't taste bad at all. The nose is
kind of getting like a wet dog.
The nose is a little turnt.
Yeah, it's a little.
But
it's a little sheepdog
anyway,
in the rain.
We digress.
I know.
Trent and I both love wine.
Yeah.
We both love
Sad.
champagne. So the flute.
Yeah, so the flute, then the guitar.
So did you have a band early on?
No, the whole time I lived in San Diego, I went and saw bands and like hung out with musicians, and my best friend was in a band, but I was never good enough to be in a band. I kind of sucked at guitar too. I was kind of more into, like, I looked good. I had long hair and looked like a rocker, but I really didn't play that well.
That's funny.
And I mean, it's kind of now. I mean, it's the same thing now. I'm better at imagery than I am at actual.
Oh, I think you're a good songwriter and a good guitar player.
Yeah, but yeah. Okay, well, that's
so
nice.
No bands in high school, but hanging out with bands.
Yeah. Well,
What was the first band?
When my mom remarried when I was 15 or something, and then we moved to Buena Park.
How'd your mom meet that guy?
Did you know about this, or was that just a question? Because it's a really interesting story.
No, that's just a question. I just know that there was that financial stress ran away once she met the guy.
Yeah.
That's all I know.
Sort of right away.
That's not all I know.
He wasn't loaded at the time, but so she was just like, my parents divorced. My dad was like, he wasn't a total deadbeat dad, but he basically, I don't know if he was seeing this chick, and that's why they got divorced.
Maybe he was just busy. He's an architect. Fuck.
Yeah, but he never really. He was kind of lazy. I mean,
How
I
many
hate
kids?
to say
Four
this,
or
4
five?
kids, but we've assessed 4 kids, and there's a 5th that they adopted between my sister and me that we never had contact with, and we keep thinking we're going to try and make an effort, but no one really has pulled the trigger, like to hire a PI.
Oh wow!
But I don't think my dad really wanted kids. I think he woke up one day and said, "Shit, I got 4 kids." I mean, he's a cool guy. I get on with him. I have no hatred or.
Yeah.
But I don't really think he was a family man. But then he started dating this lady that had kids too. So, whatever. So my mom just would like going to bars and like meeting guys, and
I'm loving that you're saying that, because that gives people that are listening, it gives you hope. I met my husband at a bar.
Yeah.
You can meet nice people in bars.
She met most of the guys she met in bars. There was a couple nice ones, but they weren't that, I don't know. Anyway, so then she put a freaking ad in the classifieds, single woman, 40 years old.
Dude, I
looking for
love
this.
her right now.
And she put an ad
That's
in the
balls out.
classifieds. Totally. And then she met this dude from out of town, and his wife had passed away from cancer, and he was like, just like this lonely dude, right? And,
lonely dude.
Yeah, he was a lonely guy. And my mom was pretty much a hippie.
She
And
pretty.
this guy was
Your
pretty.
mom's pretty now.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm not saying she wasn't pretty, but she was pretty much a hippie. She was not a conventional person. She was into arts and, like, I think, she would go and see Burbank and stuff like that,
Ooh,
when
dig
she
your
was in
mom.
college.
Your
No, she
mom's-
was a hipster.
She might have been pre-hippie, might have been beat.
She was
almost.
beat. Yeah, she was definitely. Because she would
Beatniks.
always tell me, I'd sneak out of the dorm and go see
Dude,
Burbank
beatniks are
whenever he
hipper
played.
than
Yeah.
hippies. Beatniks are cooler
Yeah.
than hippies.
Yeah, no, she wasn't dropping acid
Hepper.
type of hippie.
Hepper.
She didn't have asbestos Birkenstocks or anything. But so then
Earth
she put
shoes.
this ad out. Yeah, the Earth shoes. Oh God. She put this ad out, and then this dude replied, and like they were like oil and water as far as like he was pretty square, but maybe he dug that about her, like she was showing him a different side of life, and they somehow hit it off, and they got married pretty quick. And then she moved up to Buena Park, and then I started getting in bands, and I was my junior, maybe my sophomore or my junior year of high school. And so I totally got uprooted and had to make new friends, and I started playing in bands and like rehearsing
What
in
was
the garage.
Buena Park? I don't even know. I know where it is, but I don't know what it's all about.
It's near where Knott's Berry Farm is. That's the
okay.
It's in Orange County. It's a
Oh,
pretty
so it's close. It's not far away at all from like Huntington Beach or any of that
No, it's
shit.
not that far. I mean, we used to
Yeah.
play little house parties in Huntington Beach or Lakewood or all the
Is
areas
it called Buena
around it.
Park because of Buena Vista because of Disney? Why is it
No,
called Buena Park?
I don't know why it's called Buena
Buena
Park.
means good, right? Well, that's Bueno.
Bueno, yeah.
Bueno. What does Buena mean? I
Well,
don't
it's
know.
the female, whatever
good.
of A and O.
Female good.
Yeah, good woman.
There you
That's
go.
a good woman.
So Buena Park.
It
that
means
was,
it means beautiful view. Buena Vista.
Got you, of course.
But I think that whole area was some sort of an orchard, and that's how Knott's Berry Farm. Maybe they owned all of it and started subdividing it.
Mr. Knott created the boysenberry. The boysenberry was a hybrid between a blackberry and a raspberry.
Knott.
Yeah, he created it.
Yeah.
Mr. Knott, Knott, Mr. Knott. He created the boysenberry.
Yeah.
God bless him. I dig boysenberries.
Yeah. I do
Anyhow.
too. Yeah. So I
We
don't know.
digress.
High school bands, and it was fun. We played
What was the name of
parties.
your first band?
Stratosphere.
Stratosphere.
I didn't name the band. I joined it, but I didn't really care.
Dude, the names that people have for some of these
It would
bands.
kind of be a good name now.
Robert
Stratosphere.
Carranza's band was called Lethargic.
Totally. I'm sorry, but that kind of fits Rally.
Dude, it's the best. But dude,
Rally.
Stratosphere.
Yeah.
So did Stratosphere go to the Stratosphere?
No, I mean, we actually played a couple clubs.
All right.
We played there was this club.
How old were you?
I was 17.
Okay.
We played clubs where we couldn't get into sold alcohol. We could get in and play and not, and that was it.
Also a common thread.
And there was some club it was in Anaheim or something. I remember because it was one of the big names of that club was it was where Motley Crue was.
Motley Crue.
I don't have they were like the resident band or something
Motley
like that.
Crue. By the way,
And
that's a
where
great
they got
name,
their start.
Motley
I know.
Crue.
That's the tribute band version of Motley
That's
Crue.
a great name.
Yeah. So, and then we had a song called Mephistopheles. I remember that. It was like, I don't know, you're looking in books and figuring shit out.
At least you're you're literate and you're studying.
we
But I love
rehearsed-
Stratosphere does Mephistopheles.
Yeah, and we built a 2-foot drum riser out of plywood. We had it in my garage, and who puts a drum riser in their rehearsal space? We just thought it was so badass.
Dude, my favorite thing ever in Spinal Tap is the miniature Stonehenge that drops from the sky, right? And
Yeah.
it's baby Stonehenge.
Yeah, it's kind of like
It was built to
it's kinda like-
scale.
it's kinda like
it was
Neve
built to
console.
scale. Well, those were inches, not feet, mate. It's ridiculous.
yeah.
Well, all right. So Stratosphere.
Yeah.
Stratosphere's gaining some track in the
I
neighborhood.
don't know what happened. I don't even know how we broke up.
Were you the lead singer or the guitar
I was the
player?
lead singer. I didn't play guitar. Yeah.
Okay.
Then I started. I don't know. Before I moved up, I dated this girl that was a little older than me, and I was just obsessed with. And she was a singer. And then I dated another girl that was older than me, and she was a singer. And I was just singing's where it's at.
Did you
man.
learn
don't
anything
have
from the
to-
singer girls about technique or how to control your
hell
voice
yeah,
and
totally.
breathing?
Yes.
It's all about breathing.
Yes, it is.
Well, that's super cool, dude. I love this. So,
What happened after that?
17, high school, Stratosphere, singing, and then how long did you stick around Buena Park? Did you get out of high school there?
No. You know what's funny? I didn't graduate from high school. So I should have graduated. My parents moved back. They bought a house in Encinitas, which is northern San Diego County,
And this
right
is
along the
mom
beach.
and stepdad now.
Yeah, mom and stepdad, and they bought this really cool house. I mean, it's a mile from the beach. It's my mom still owns it, and So we moved down there, and so then I'm down there, and then I start playing bands at like 18 or 19. Yeah,
Wait,
right
you never
around
took
18.
me to this beach house? Where's this beach house a mile from the beach?
It's pretty dope.
Does anyone live in it?
I just got it. I have a tenant moving in on the 1st. It's
What the F, dude?
Yeah, it's weird. It's a cottage. It's an 800 square foot cottage.
Dude, it's awesome.
It's amazing.
That's what I'm saying.
So I never took you down there. No.
Hey, Joe, you're going to be on this soon.
Yeah.
Sooner than later.
Let's see where we. So I got in a band down there.
Yeah.
It gets in. Well, for me, it's interesting. For everyone else, it's
I think the whole point of this is for people to see how like people's journey. Well, just people's journey and how there's no one way to get anywhere.
Yeah, there isn't, and so this kind of ties in. So I got in this band, I was like 90 pounds, and about 30 pounds of it was hair. It was like I had the Kevin Cronin curly haired, without the bad bangs, and there was always some
great hair.
There was always
Trent has
some
hair like mine.
There was always some hairstylist trying to cut bangs, and when they do it, they cut them here, and then when your hair dries, they shrink up to here.
Okay, we have curly hair. You
Kevin
cannot
Cronin.
have bangs.
No, you look like
There's
Kevin
a rule,
Cronin.
dude. I don't understand who
Not
missed
knocking
it.
Cronin, but you look like Cronin.
You cannot rock bangs with curly hair.
So anyways, I got in this band, and they were the hot band. I don't know how I got in it. I mean, they were the top band in San Diego.
It's really cold.
Oh, cool. Yeah, thank you. They were the top band. They were the top heavy metal hard rock band in San Diego. They were called Sabotage. I mean, guess who they were influenced by?
Beastie Boys.
And
No?
it was before the Beastie Boys. They were like
Sabbath.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay.
You win the prize. And so we played. We played, and like they played originals when we played clubs, but then they knew 4 sets of hard rock and metal covers, and we played all the Navy bases, and that's how the band paid their rent. None of them worked, and I was still living at home, but they lived about 20 miles south of me in this town called Chula Vista.
Mm-hmm, I know.
And I would go sleep in my car. I auditioned for them and got the gig, and then I just wanted to be down there, so I'd sleep in my car in the apartment complex that 2 of the guys lived in. Like, they'd make me sleep in my car or something. They wouldn't let me sleep on their couch. It was kind of this weird rite of passage shit. Like, they wanted me to pay my dues.
Oh, whatever.
And I'd get up in the morning and go in there and shower, and we kind of just tried to live the rock and roll life. And like, we rehearsed all the time. We were really good. And we'd play these gigs at the Navy. We were playing about 3 different Navy bases, and we'd make good money, but most of us were I think all of us were underage. So we'd play. Well, actually, on the Navy bases, you had to be over 18. So I guess I was under 18 when this was happening, because a couple of the guys could hang out in there, but during the set breaks, I had to go stay in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And then they would, man, I'm telling you, man, those drunk swabbies, that's what we called them, swabby. That was a nickname for a Navy guy.
Yeah.
They would all come up to you. It was like everyone was the same. They'd come up, they'd stick a pitcher of beer on the edge of the stage, just going, "You guys rock." And then they'd show you, they'd get their wallet out and they go, "Here's when I had long hair," because they all had to get their hair cut off. So that was like their thing. I was you before I joined the Navy.
Dude, see, I'm not square. I was a rocker.
Yeah.
But yeah, my brothers had bands when I was little and really young.
Chin
like
Chin.
Chin.
This is getting better.
I know, it's getting better, right? Keith, you want some?
You should have some.
And
we're like hoarding.
So what would happen? What would happen was my dad would take them around and they would play same.
Yeah.
Like they would play the Navy bases and they were called the shoresmen.
Yeah. Well, that's
older
awesome
brothers
name.
who I love.
Yeah, the 3 shoresmen.
But yeah, no, it's interesting because all of those experiences, sleeping in the car, et cetera, everybody always talks about, paying your dues or hard knocks or whatever. I don't really know anyone, even if they grew up in an affluent home, that didn't go through some period of adversity to get where they are now.
Yeah, I agree. And, I'll be honest. I mean, I had a pretty damn good childhood. Even when my parents got divorced, it was a little traumatic. But my mom was so cool. She held the shit together.
Yeah.
And we were never hungry. I wore hand-me-downs. That was about the worst, and I had holes in my jeans or something. But I mean, I could have stayed in Encinitas in a soft bed, but then I would have had to drive 45 minutes back up. And by then I was probably, getting high and smoking weed and probably drinking a little bit. And so I just opted to sleep in my car. And then
what kind of car did you have?
I had the best car.
What was your first car?
My first car was a Ford Pinto,
Oh,
which Sugar
Pinto.
Daddy, my John Davis, my mother's second husband, bought
Stepdad,
me.
your stepdad.
Okay, that was a long way around that.
It's all good.
He bought it for me, which I just was like, wow, this guy's amazing. He's buying me a car because my mom.
That is fucking amazing.
And then 2 days after, this was before they got married. So 2 days before.
Dude, that's a commitment.
It was very cool of him. He was such a nice guy. And then like I'd had it a week and I'm driving down the road and someone pulls out in front of me and like destroys it. And I remember because when you're young like that, I don't know, at the time they put you in one of those neck braces.
They didn't put me in one, and my neck's fucked up now from a car
they
wreck
put
I
me
had
in
then.
that. And I remember at the rehearsal for the wedding, my mom's wedding to this guy, I have this stupid neck brace on.
Yeah.
And then I was like, this looks so stupid, man.
Dude, it's so good that they didn't hit you. It's so good that they didn't hit you in the rear though, because the Pinto had the gas stick.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
it
was like the explosive gas.
Yeah, it was a
tank
side.
in the rear.
It was a T-bone.
Oh,
but
okay.
anyways, so then he bought with the insurance money. He got me another car because he believed that it probably wasn't my. It wasn't my fault. Someone just pulled up, and it was a Vega panel wagon. It was such a rad car. It was
my
so
parents
rad.
had a Vega.
It was a little teenage shag wagon because
Was it
was
dark
like
green?
No, it was root beer brown.
With wood panels, with fake wood panels.
It didn't have the fake wood panels.
shit,
Someone
okay.
had painted over it. It had an aftermarket.
You know, like a
paint job.
miniature Ford LTD station wagon.
so
the Vega,
cool.
the Vega wagon was like a miniature station
And this was a
wagon.
panel wagon. I had little curtains behind the seat.
But it was like a station wagon.
Yeah, it was a station
Oh, yeah.
wagon, but it was small and it didn't have windows because it was a panel wagon.
Okay.
And so I had curtains behind the seat and tinted window in the back, and you couldn't see anything.
Yeah,
And so
terrible
it was like I had a
visibility.
mattress in there, of course.
Yeah.
And then my dad had these pair of Bose speakers, and they were like I don't know if anyone remembers when the Bose came out, but they were triangles. They had 1 8-inch in the front and four 4-inch speakers in this V in the back, and they were meant to fill the room with sound and direct reflect. I snagged
Bose
those
is
suckers and put them
cool.
in the back of that car and had put in a power amp and all this stuff, and we just like rocking the Sabbath and Priest in that thing. And I'm sure everyone in the vicinity hated me because I'm sure it was just deafening. Anyways,
That's so funny.
yeah, that was a good car. It
That's
really
so
served
cool,
me well.
actually. I love that.
I
love
even
that.
see. Here's the sad part. I even drove up to I probably drove up to L.A. to see Wasp or someone like that play at the Starwood. And one time I was such
Dude, the
an
Starwood.
idiot that I driving up. I forgot to put oil in the car or something, and the engine
Cracked
seized
the block.
right by where the police station is on the 101, right where the Brew 102 place used to be, right when you're going like by Alameda where the thing takes a
right
big
by
turn.
the brewery, yeah.
And I had to pull over, and I'm like, oh shit. And and I didn't know what to do. And I called my stepdad. He drove up from Encinitas, picked me up, and was like, well, you're not going to go see that show. And then he got the car towed and paid whatever. It was like $1,200 for a new engine. And he never yelled. He was just like, okay, now you know not to do that again. And I was like, he was the opposite of my dad, because my dad would practically, he never hit me because he had 3 other
But he'd
kids to
bust a
hit.
vein.
All I had to do, I'd curl up in a ball. He'd slap the other kids. He wasn't totally abusive, but he was 6'6" and kind of imposing. And I was the youngest, so I kind of watch everyone get the brunt
How
of it.
did he shrink to now at 90?
No, he's still freaking
6'4"?
6'4", man.
Wow.
He's still ducking when he goes in the door.
Wow.
Anyway, so I had the car and blah blah blah. And the other thing, just weird serendipitous things. So when I lived in Buena Park, I was kind of a black sheep because I was a total rocker, and it was a car culture in Buena Park, and that car was kind of made me cool, that little Vega, because it had some cool rims or some shit on it that I didn't buy them. It came with it.
Right.
And people thought that was kind of cool, but I got a job as a stock boy in a liquor store.
Nice.
And so, it's like, who hires a teenage male to stock alcohol that's in high school? So
Someone that wants to lose a case of beer a
totally,
week.
I it was so sad. I had a racket going to where all the jocks that would usually beat the shit out of guys like me for sport, I had a freaking racket going, and they'd put in their orders on Thursday night, and I'd sneak.
Dude,
and
this
I
is
would take
Keith's dream
six.
job,
I would
by
take
the way.
6 packs out, and I would when I took the trash out, I'd put a 6-pack in a box and have it in the dumpster. And later on at night, I'd go back and harvest, a case of beer, and I would either
Harvest.
sell it,
I love this.
either sell it or give it to the jocks, so they could drink their beer
So
on
you
their
would get your ass
football
kicked.
game. I wouldn't get my ass kicked. Everyone thought I was cool, and I had this kind of little racket going. And then one day, I'm in there stocking and I used to love going in that freezer, the
The
cooler,
walk-in.
and you'll walk in and you're there, and you can see people grabbing beer out when you're in there. And I look, and this guy, like this larger than life character, comes in and grabs this 6-pack of beer, and he's just the epitome of a heavy metal or a rocker guy. And I'm like, wow. And then he started coming in, and then like he trusted me with a cash register at some point. And it ended up being the guitar player for Wasp.
Oh, wow.
And he lived right down the street, and he had a rehearsal studio.
Did you ever tell him about your car breaking down on the way to the Starwood?
No, that happened probably, yeah, because that was in. I know I'm jumping back and forth in time,
right.
But I became friends with this guy, and like he kind of took me in. I was like a junior, sophomore in high school or whatever, and he let me hang out with him. And he had this rehearsal place, and like Dokken rehearsed there, and he was in Wasp, and I was just like, wow,
this is a genre of music that I respect, but never got into.
Yeah, well, I didn't really get into it, but I guess I did because that was what was being made. And I mean, and also, I didn't. It was the first chance I had to be privy to like guys playing gigs and going to the Starwood and the Roxy and the Whiskey and playing.
Dude, I
so
remember
I'm like,
the Starwood.
and that was kind of that music was coming up. I mean, I was into Iron Maiden and all that.
Dude, the Strip, when I came, even in the mid to late '80s. Like 86 or 87 when I first came back out. I mean, I was here earlier in the late 70s when I came back out. Dude, the Starwood, Gazaris.
Yeah, Gazaris.
That whole thing was just...
I played them all except for the Starwood. The Starwood was like it got torn down before I started gigging. But so anyways, he became a friend, and I don't know, it was just kind of... It was cool for me because they got a record deal, and they put out a record, and I knew someone that was in a signed band, and then one of my best friends from San Diego is this guy named Mike Wilmot, he designed Alistair Fiend for Motley Crue when he was in high school.
Okay.
Somehow he got a connection with those guys, and then that took off for him. And he's gone on to, work with Skinny Puppy, this Black Crowes, and then he was at Mattel, one of the lead guys at Mattel. Now he's up in Oregon and does stuff for Mattel.
And he's a designer.
He's a graphic designer. Yeah,
nice.
He's amazing. And he was like,
was he doing album covers and swag and stuff?
Album covers and T-shirts, and he designed
like logos.
The second album cover, Motley Crue, Shout at the Devil. That's his artwork. Dr. Feelgood. That's his stuff. And so we were like these guys in San Diego that had tapped into the LA scene somehow, almost by luck. And then we all hung out together, and it was pretty fun.
Dude, there's more than one person. I mean, and Robert Caron's a classic, or James Hetfield from Metallica being from Norwalk or whatever.
Yeah.
There's all these people that were from outlying towns, and if you don't live in LA or grow up or know California, you don't realize how close these actually are.
Yeah, it was
you're
close.
talking maybe 30, 40 miles
at the
max.
time it was an hour and a half drive up to LA to go see a band at night, and then
well, it still is from San Diego, but
sort of.
now it's a 3-hour drive.
The San Diego traffic's worse than LA traffic.
Yeah.
I mean, no one in San Diego wants to admit to that, but that's the truth.
Yeah.
And so I don't know.
But this is so cool. So
lead the way.
You're working so cool because you're working in a liquor store, and then you meet that guy, and he sort of like you become like a semi-protege.
Yeah.
Had you started singing yet?
Yeah, I was singing, and then so anyways, I was, like I said, I was jumping around. So I spent a couple years in Buena Park, and I had that band Stratosphere. But when I moved to San Diego, I got in this really top band, and they were pretty good, and we played all kinds of great gigs.
What was the name of that band?
It was called Sabotage. That was the Sabotage band. And like some of these guys, I'm still friends with two of the guys, well, actually all the guys to this day. Huh. And one guy ended up basically being my musical mentor, and he passed away about 10 years ago.
Oh.
And he was a fucking bastard, man. He was like, but he was smart. Like when I got in the band, he's like, okay, you can't go out to clubs at night and hang out. And I'm like, yeah, but I need to get laid. And he's like, no, that's not how we do it in this band. We're only seen when we play. And at the time I'm like, yeah, but these guys are my friends. And he's like, and I still have people.
He's
coming
trying to create mystique.
Dude, it was totally, and I have people coming up to me from that scene to this day, just going, you guys were so mysterious. You'd only see you, and you'd come out on stage in a flash of this with his hair, and then you would leave, and no one ever got to see you. And like he would like almost like fine you if you went out and hung out, And I was like, at the time, I'm like, yeah, but if you don't hang out, you don't meet chicks, and so we had this thing, and then I think it was our drummer's mom and dad. For some reason, something happened, and they decided they were going to finance a tour.
Oh, God
And
bless.
so I remember I was 19.
Sabotage.
Yeah, and we did this Southwest tour, but we kind of stalled out in Texas. And then we were living on this weird, it was a summer camp in the winter, and had the whole camp, and we were rehearsing for this one big show.
Is this in Texas? Or?
Yeah, outside of Austin.
I love Austin.
And we in the hill country or something. And that's a whole other story. But that fell apart. Me and my mentor and another guy, we got kicked out of the band after the one show because the parents deemed us being bad eggs. That's what they call it. You guys are bad eggs. You're fired. and we were kind of crestfallen because we were like, I think I cried, because I'm like, I got kicked out of the band. And then all they did was it was on Thanksgiving Day. They gave us the boot on Thanksgiving and said, here's the keys to a U-Haul. Go back to California.
That's a little brutal.
It was kind of harsh.
I have some Thanksgiving stories. We'll talk about this later.
Anyways.
But that's kind of cool. So you go back to California.
Yeah.
And how old are you now?
19 or 20.
So you didn't graduate from high school. Did you get a GED ever?
Yeah. I should have, but I didn't.
Don't spread that around. I'm trying to get our friend's son to get a GED.
I know. I should have. I wish I would have. I mean, now I really wish I
Brian
would have.
dropped out of high school too.
It would have given me a sense of accomplishment and follow through that has plagued me through the rest of my life. I'm not a good finisher. So hire me to do your record. I'm not a good finisher.
I will put myself on your boat in that same sense.
Yeah.
I start things that I don't finish, and I went back to college, changed my major 5 times, but I did graduate from high school, but I never really finished my courses in college. I kept changing everything. Now, so that means, and the reason that I asked was not any judgment whatsoever, but was more like, did you go to college? Because you can't go to college without a GED.
I did take some classes at college. I took a bunch of
electives,
music classes.
or?
Yeah, electives.
Okay.
I took music classes because I'm like, okay, I'm going to stay in music. But funny you should ask, because my stepfather's like, hey, man, this music thing, now you can see you need something to fall back on. I'm sure every musician's heard that.
The fall back on thing, I'm going to fall back on my butt. You know what I mean? Like, what are you going to fall back on? My mom was like, what are you going to fall back on?
So
I was going to be a marriage counselor.
So, of course, my fallback, I'm like, what can I fall back on? It's so funny when I think about it now. My fallback, I'm like, that movie, Shampooed, come out with Warren Beatty.
Oh my God.
And I'm like,
you told me that.
I went to cosmetology school because I'm like, where can I meet chicks? I mean, I guess that's probably why I got into rock and roll in the first place.
Okay,
I love music, but I really wanted to meet chicks.
If you haven't seen the movie Shampoo, it's Warren Beatty, and he is a player.
Yeah, he's just shagging.
And he's got all the beautiful gals. Yeah. And Shampoo.
And I thought that would be me. Well, it kind of was when
So, okay, that kind of brings me to a question. So, you're going to cosmetology school. You're learning how to cut hair. Now, is that where you met the beautiful, talented Nancy?
No. This is after that. So I went to college.
Trent's wife is a great hair. She's my hairdresser.
Check out, okay, I have some hair.
You got great hair.
And it's like Candace's when I don't have it in a ponytail, but it's not. I'm trying to grow it out I'm in a competition with my brother, which will be funny. Old man ponytail.
I like it. So cosmetology school. So were you playing music and going to cosmetology school?
Yeah, I was rocking a white outfit. I would go. You had to wear a white outfit, white pants, and a white schmuck. But I'd come in with a leather jacket over it. Smock, yeah, schmuck. Anyways, and I actually. It's a long story. So, anyways,
you are the first person I've talked to that went to cosmetology school.
I met some girls. I did have some relationships with women in cosmetology.
Good for you.
So it was an instant payoff. And then so I got out of that and got in another band or
Keith,
blah blah blah.
You missed the whole cosmetology excerpt.
And I dropped out of cosmetology school.
What?
So I'm gonna
you didn't even finish cosmetology school?
I'm a beauty school dropout.
Dude,
it's so beauty
talking
school
about lack of finishing. Damn.
Go back to high school.
I gotta tease you. It's so funny.
It's pretty funny that some of the shit I did.
We fail upwards. That's all I'm gonna say.
Dude, I have
been so lucky.
I have been so lucky.
Oh my God.
I mean.
Okay, so you've now given up the dream of being Warren Beatty and Shampoo.
I never really had that dream. It was just to help it was just so I could keep playing rock, and my stepdad would keep funding it. In a way.
Right.
Because that was my fallback career. Well, then what happened after that?
But wait, where was cosmetology school?
That was in San Diego.
Okay,
yeah.
got it.
So then I formed another band out of the ashes of the band I got kicked out of on Thanksgiving Day,
Did you call it Christmas?
No, it was a great name. I'm probably going to resurrect it. At first, it was called Mecca. That was the name of the band, Mecca, and then it later got turned. Once we were back in I don't know, something happened and it became the Velvet Jones, which I really like because it has a lot of drug references.
Dude, so I have a question. Is that, I was going to say drug references, but there was that club in Santa Barbara called the Velvet Jones.
I didn't know about that. There was a skit that Eddie Murphy did called Velvet Jones. Like that was his character in a skit.
Right.
But we took it from that actually. Because we thought it was a cool name. But then I learned it was like,
From like Saturday Night Live?
Yeah, from Saturday Night Live. Then I learned it was about like, when you're coming down off schmack, you're kind of like.
In the Velvet Jones.
You got a Velvet Jones. You don't really need it, but it'd be kind of cool to have some. So we got in this band and we lived in San Diego. And at the time, this is in the 80s and early 80s
By the way,
in San
great
Diego.
Name, Velvet Jones.
Yeah, I might resurrect it because I'm going to release some more music here. And I've released one record under my name, Trent Slatton, but I kind of want to do it under a band name so then I can just like interchange more. Yeah, stuff. I'm also in a band called Foobin, Foobin. It's like a virtual band, like the bass player was in Dig, and he writes some songs and he either has me play guitar and sing on it, and then I'm try and mix it. My best friend John, who was in this band, the Velvet Jones, he plays guitar on it.
So when you got out of cosmetology school, you're back in San Diego,
get a band together, we're kicking ass.
Got the band together, you're doing good. At what point in time, and I'm gonna bust a cherry here. When did you get into recording?
Well, I always was into recording, even back to where, I'll tell you where it really started. I was a singer. So like a guitar player is expected to know how to tune his guitar and turn on his amp. Well, as a singer, you had to know how to turn on the freaking PA and EQ it if it was feeding back. And then I remember when I bought my first, Roland Space Echo, and I was just like, oh my God. And one of my best friends who I never really played in the band with, he had a great construction job. So he would buy all this gear, but he didn't know how to use it. Like he had a 4-track, a Tascam with all these little plastic mixers.
Yeah, dude.
And I was just
the cassette Tascam recorder.
Yeah, and I was just into tweaking on that stuff. And I don't know why. I took apart clocks when I was a kid. My parents had to buy clocks from the thrift store just to appease me. So I got into it, and
That's
I remember like we saw big
Did you put the clocks back together?
No, fuck no. Well, I tried probably, but here's like a weird example: is we saw Big Audio Dynamite play at this really dive club in San Diego, and they were so killer, and they had 2 keyboard players, and they're rocking these Insonic Mirages, and we're like, what are those things?
Insonic Mirage?
It was the first affordable sampler. And so if you listen to those Big Audio Dynamite records, they're taking all these great clips from Clint Eastwood movies, but then they're going, doing all that. And they have like real long segments of freaking Clint Eastwood, from the good and the bad, the ugly and stuff. Anyways, but before that, I knew about this. You could spend $12,000 and buy a Fairlight, or $20,000 or a Synclavier.
Oh yeah.
But this thing came out and it was $800 for a freaking Insonic Mirage.
Did we have a Synclavier when you were at Red Zone? Oh no, there was one before your time.
No, I don't think there was one. Yeah. Anyway, so my friend had the construction job, and he bought it, and then I learned how to like dial it in and sample shit. And anyways, so we got in this, and then he was in a band with me, because my best friend Jamie and my best friend John were in this band, and it's right in the middle of the early 80s in San Diego. San Diego at that period of time was the crystal meth capital of the world.
Oh, Jesus.
And so it's like we're in this band, and so everybody wants to hang out with us and blah, blah, blah. And also I've always been really great. I'm pretty self-deprecating and humble, but I've always been really good at surrounding myself with better musicians than myself and elevating myself. It makes me work harder.
That's just called being smart.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess I'm smart. Anyway, so and they were also better looking than me. And so I was kind of pulling.
Don't count yourself short.
I was kind of pulling I could dazzle them with my talking. I could pull chicks with that, but they were just so damn cute. So we were pulling a different kind of women. It worked out pretty good. So then we were just like, there was so much meth around.
Dude,
and we never paid for it because people were giving it to us. Dude, I never did meth. We weren't really into it, but that's just what was around. And then
maybe I did it accidentally thinking it was blow.
Yeah, it's not good. And then then one of John, my buddy, his drummer was down here from Tahoe, and he's like, dude, this is not looking, things are not going in the right direction.
Yeah. Meth is not the way to go.
So he goes, you know what? I can hook us up all with great jobs in Lake Tahoe.
Beautiful.
And we'll move up there. And
love Tahoe.
And then we'll focus our band and we'll move to LA or San Francisco.
Is this still Velvet Jones or what was it?
Yeah. It was called Mecca at the time.
Oh, right, Mecca.
And we actually made a demo up at the studio called Castle Rock Studios in Tahoe.
Dude,
and
Tahoe's rad.
It was amazing.
Tahoe's
I got married.
rad now.
I married Nancy in Tahoe.
You what?
We eloped and got married in Tahoe.
Oh,
Nancy
you did?
And I, yeah. And
I
so we
love
lived there
Tahoe.
for a couple years and just woodshedded. All we did was woodshed, and we'd go to the casinos at night, and we used to hang out with like
Did you live on the California side or
we were
the
on the
Boston?
Cali side, South
Okay,
Tahoe,
Cali side. Nice.
and it was Tahoe was. I mean,
What's the
it was great
drink?
for getting off meth, but it wasn't good for getting off the alcohol.
I was going to
because-
say, what is the drink that is the famous Tahoe drink? It's
I don't know.
It's their native cocktail. I mean, it's
shit.
their cocktail that's in
yeah,
Tahoe. It's not
like a
a
Blue
rum.
Hawaii
It's not like
or
a
something.
rum runner, but it's something like
yeah,
that.
I think I had those
It might
stupid
be a rum
commemorative
runner.
glasses they give you.
Somebody will have to
But you
look
could
that up.
drink till 2 a.m. on the California side, and then drive over. Of course, drink and drive over to Tahoe.
Drink till
and
5 a.m. Yeah.
It was so
No, I know.
amazing. And like I was the least abusive of alcohol in my band. Well, the drummer was pretty straight edge. He drank some, and I was next. But the bass player and drummer and guitar player, those guys could just stack the beer.
Was that the ruin of Mecca or the ruin of
No,
Velvet
it wasn't the
Jones?
ruin. So we stayed up there. We woodshedded. We rehearsed through the snow and everything, and like. Everyone would go, come on and
God,
go
now you're making me
skiing."
want to go to Tahoe.
It was so
I wanna
much
go to
fun.
Tahoe.
And all I did was like I cross country skied because we
Oh,
were all
fuck yeah.
afraid of breaking our wrists because
Oh, yeah.
we were all guitar players.
Yeah.
So then we
Ski to each other's houses.
yeah, and we'd go down and see like Love and Rockets in San
dude,
Francisco,
yes.
or and all these cool bands that we thought were cool.
I like
and
Love
hang
and
out in the
Rockets.
Haight-Ashbury and stuff. And I met some girls there, and it was all great. And we were gonna move there, but for some reason we moved to LA. I don't know why we decided to move to LA. We thought the
warmer.
music scene was going to be better for us in LA. Then it was the
Probably.
strip was blowing up. It was like
It
hair
probably
metal.
was.
Yeah, it was like hair metal was blowing up or just starting to. And so we moved. We weren't really. I mean, we had hair, but we weren't like Poison or
Were you
whatever.
more melodic?
No, we were more like the Cult. We were like
Oh, I
goth. We were
love
like
the Cult.
goth coming. We were heavily influenced by like me at the. I mean, besides Sabbaths and stuff, but we at the time we were influenced by like Roxy Music,
Oh, yes.
Bauhaus, Love and Rockets.
Dude, you're speaking my language.
Yeah, it was all.
And
it
the
was
Cult.
kind of the goth stuff and the Cult.
Dude,
and
I
so
love
like
that.
I mean, as soon as we could get enough money, both me and John had Jazz Chorus JC 120s. I still have mine. He still has his. And I had to buy it back from someone. I had to buy it back from John's little
Did
brother.
you pawn it or something? No.
No, I loaned it to a guy. You know Todd Miller. I loaned it to Todd Miller.
Oh, I know Todd Miller
and then
well.
he somehow hawked it to Ian Morris, which is John's little brother. And then John's like,
Dude,
I
how
found
random
your
is that connection? Did they know each other?
Who?
Todd Miller and Ian
Yeah,
Morris.
somehow they knew each other. Yeah, they knew each other through John because John and Todd
Oh.
Miller were roommates. So
Wait a
anyways,
minute.
So yeah.
I did not.
Yeah,
That is not.
So here's the
American
timeline. I'll try and be quick about this.
Yes, no, you don't
not
have to
like
be
anyone
quick.
cares, but
Take
we
your time.
care. So we're in LA. Then we get into LA and we're playing. We're playing everywhere. And also because Mike Wilmot, who was the Motley Crue artist, and then
Right.
I knew the guys from Wasp, so we kind of had some like connections. And then
Did it help you get gigs?
not really, but we were just hanging out with the right people. And when we lived down in San Diego, Mike lived in this town called Lakeside,
Yeah.
which is right next to a town called Santee, which the nickname for that was Clan T because it's definitely, white.
It's funny because Santee
white
is a
Trumpy.
southern name too.
No, but it was white, I guess today it's white conservative, 4x truck, rednecky. Anyways, and another guy that was our buddy that moved down from Seattle.
A lot
when
of
we
redneck
met,
Democrats,
and the scene
Trent.
was Tammy from Faster Pussycat. And at the time, he wasn't called Tammy. And I'm sure everybody knows what his real name is. I'm
Tie
not
Me
gonna
Down. It was Tie Me
yeah,
Down.
Tie Me Down. Tammy Down. But anyways, and we just hang out. And Tammy was hilarious because like he fucking lived glam.
Sweet
And-
guy.
Yeah, super cool
Nice guy.
And he lived glam, and he's in Lakeside, this total 4x truck, gun rack, redneck town.
Oh, yeah.
And we'd be trying to get beer, and he'd be walking down the street.
Did
with-
people beat his ass all the time?
if he didn't
Probably.
get they wanted to,
Yeah.
because he would be walking down the main drag in Lakeside of all places with dolphin shorts on and pumps and fishnet stockings.
Oh, yeah,
in
he was
broad
always,
daylight,
like cross-dressing.
and I just thought he had the balls, man.
Good for him.
And so then he got in his band and got his record deal up here. So all our buddies were like doing well, and we weren't.
Did Faster Pussycat?
Yeah, no,
They did great.
They're a great blues
Yeah.
rock band. I mean, when you strip away what people make fun of is the hair era, they were like serious cool blues rock. I mean, I thought it was. I respected all those guitar players.
I liked them better than bands like I wasn't really a Wasp, Poison fan.
That was too much shock rock. That's like Alice Cooper.
But bands like Rat and Wasp, and stuff, they all had their place. They just weren't my thing.
And Rat was San Diego guys, so we knew Warren and all
that
those
dudes.
dudes.
That just wasn't my thing. But when you start talking about, and I'm not that much older than you, but
No.
East Coast, etc., older brothers, whatever. But for me, when you start talking about stuff like the Roxy Music, and you're wearing a David Bowie shirt right now, and you're talking about Bauhaus, and Peter Murphy, I mean, all that.
I was trying to infuse that into what was selling, and I remember. So then another guy who was a San Diego guy.
Did you work at Red Zone when the Cult came?
No.
Oh yeah,
they came. I would have been.
Oh yeah, they came, and Ian
underwear.
Asbury taught me how to play this little football game with
I would have been.
It was like a folded up triangle of paper.
We played that in school.
We played this little game, and it was bizarre.
And then, I don't know how they do it in England, but you'd do this. You'd make this little thing, and you'd have to kick the field goal once.
Anyway,
I didn't know. You see,
random.
Ian and I have something in common.
There you go.
I see him almost every time they come. They're one of the hardest working bands in rock, and they still rock.
Billy
they
Duffy's
still play.
badass, really good.
Yeah.
All
Them
amazing.
and Black Rebel Motorcycle Club, to me, if they ever come here, you got to drop a dime.
I would do that.
I love those guys. I got to show you this picture I took of Richard. I love those guys. I can't remember the guy's name. His last name is Bean because his dad was the singer in The Call.
Oh,
anyway,
really?
Now I'm geeking out. Anyways, so we're in this band. I'll try and just get on because I know where did you get into recording? So I always knew how to do it. I had a 4-track in my garage. Once I got a reel-to-reel, then I got an 8-track, and then my mom appeased me and would buy me. She would help me out. I'll go halves with you, and I bought that. Akai made a 12-track with a mixer on a beta cassette. It's a recipe for disaster.
It was like and then they made samplers, but
but it was like when they were making the sampler. It was the same color as the sampler. So we're up here, we're trying to get a record deal, we're playing, and our friends from San Diego too were a band called. There was a band Bang Tango. Joe was from Bang Tango, and Tig, and Mark Knight and Kyle Stevens, and they were all great guys. And we just go clubbing together and stuff. And they got their deal, and then they were really cool. They liked our band a lot. There was a few other bands that got Asphalt Ballet got a record deal, and a couple of those guys were San Diego guys, and they were trying to help us out. So like Joe got us hooked up with now I'm old.
It's all right. I can't remember.
Now Bennett Kaufman.
Oh yeah, who I saw recently. Bennett's been a manager for a long time now.
Bennett was A&R at MCA, and who was the guy? It's not Bennett Kaufman. He's a producer engineer, and he does a lot of rock stuff.
Matt Wallace.
No, it's not Matt Wallace. He did. I can't remember. I can't believe I can't remember his name. He did like Hooba Stank and I can't remember his name right now.
But what was his relationship to Bennett?
He produced the first two Bang Tango records. So he was coming to our rehearsal, and he was
it's not like Clink or Cavallo or anything like that?
It's not Clink or Cavallo, but it's like he's in the same category as that.
Phil Caffel?
No.
Richie Zito?
Walter. I can't. If he's listening to this, he's like, "Yeah, Dick, you don't."
We're gonna remember. We're gonna look it up. We're gonna look it up before the end of the podcast.
He's got a home studio now with an 8068 in it, and it's like I can't remember his name, but I think his engineer now is this guy named Peluso. Not Peluso. That guy makes mics. Something. Palumbo. Jeff Palumbo is his engineer.
Palumbo.
And so, anyways, but I never knew him. But he was Oh God, I can't remember. Anyways. Can't remember his name.
So, but the person whose name we're trying to remember was a producer.
He was a producer, and he was coming to our rehearsals, and he was trying to get us a record deal. He like believed in us.
Oh.
And we did I don't know. We were hanging out with this girl from MCA, and she was like going to our shows, and I think John was shagging her, so we thought that was our way into getting the record deal. And we didn't get a record deal, and they signed this band, another band. Should I even mention the name of the band they signed?
Sure.
They signed Kick Tracy, which their record never went anywhere. So I mean,
I remember that band.
You know, I'll tell you in retrospect, our songs weren't that good. And like then guys in the band would be like, no, our songs were great. And I'm like, I can tell you they weren't really that good. we looked good. We had good hair.
Hindsight's 2020.
Yeah.
Well, so
and then that's when I met you, because so the band broke up. Like we flogged it and we tried making it happen, and then I kind of would have held on to it, you know, and been diehard. But I think John or someone just said, you know what, I'm moving on because I got to try and make a living doing this.
Did he have a kid then?
No, he didn't have. Well, he had kids he didn't know about at the time. That's a whole other story, John.
That's only a man thing.
John's
by
got
the
a
way.
30-year.
Women don't have kids that they don't know about. That's it.
There's a Cheech and Chong record where God goes, I have children all over the world. Anyways, John has a 30-something-year-old and a 7-year-old. So, you know, he had kids when he was 18, and now he had kids when he was 50. Anyways, he's a good dad.
He's a great dad. We love John.
So then the band falls apart, and then I came to work from you right out of that.
How did you hear about Red Zone, or what was the?
I don't know how I mean, I just...
Was it Joe McGrath? Was it
I
San
didn't
Diego
know
connection?
any of those guys.
That was a weird San Diego connection.
Probably,
Joe was also
and I
from
didn't
San
know
Diego.
that about... I mean, we didn't know that until we worked together.
That was just rando.
I don't know how we got together. I probably did it how people were sending in resumes to me. I don't know how they do it nowadays, these youngsters, but I probably went through the freaking Yellow Pages or something, or the Reader.
You had the studio. You had the LA Weekly.
Yeah, the Tweekly, we used to call it, the LA Tweekly.
You had the Weekly, and then you had... Do you remember the studio menu?
Yeah, I remember the studio menu.
And CMS Digital, which
I didn't
was
even know about the studio menu then, so I just cold called you. I don't even think I called you. I think I just walked in. I'm like, this is a studio. I'm going there, and I don't know why.
How nice
am I? And I think you were the first place I went to, and you hired me, and I'm like, oh wow.
Did you lie to me about your experience?
Totally. Of course I did. But here's the funny thing. So my best friend John got in this band with a couple guys, one guy from San Diego, and they were called Dig.
Better colder, by the way.
I know. I'm going to get some more in a second. And so then. And I'm like, I hated to admit it, but I'm like, this band's really fucking good, man. You know?
What, Dig?
Yeah, they were really good, you know, and they were just on the tip. This is like early 90s. They were just on the tip. Oasis.
Wait, I'm confused. So John went back.
The band fell apart. We're all in L.A. He joins Dig. The guy from Dig's already in L.A., Scott Hackworth. He'd been in TSOL.
Oh, yes.
And so then... They get in a band, and I'm like, man,
did you sneak in and do whole recordings at Red Zone, or did I tell you it was okay?
No, you didn't tell me it was okay. Come on. I mean, this is really how you try and make your career.
Don't do this. Those of you listening to this, do not lie to me.
I tell the guys now, I go, I got cameras in there. Just tell me when you're going to, just let me know you're going to do it, and do it. But if you don't tell me, I'm going to be pissed, so at least I know what the hell's going on.
Just ask me. I'm probably not going to say no, but if I do, it's because I have a reason.
Yeah, and there's usually a reason.
Yeah.
So I did the drums in my garage on Wyandotte Street, North Hollywood, which is where every rocker goes when they're eating ramen and trying to save money.
There he is. That mighty bear with his popper.
The bear.
Popper liquefaction.
Oh, good. And so anyways, and then I had and that's right around when I got a job with you. And I'm like, they gave me keys, and then of course the band was like, oh, that guy, and I'm like, and so we snuck in after hours in Studio B and did all the overdubs.
Don't lie to your studio manager.
I totally lied to you. I'm sorry. I love you, and then they got a record deal, and I was like, fuck, they got a record deal, bitch, and I kind of expected to get left.
You're
in
like,
the
I'm
dust.
a producer.
Well, I expected to get. Well, Scott was really headstrong and really knew what he wanted, so. He convinced the label that he could be the producer.
Scott Hackworth, ladies and gentlemen.
And I thought I was going to get left in the dust, but then they came in and we did the Dig Runt EP at Red Zone. And
I remember.
And I still listen to it sometimes, and it freaking holds water.
I think you paid us money at some point in time.
No, the record. It was Gary Kerfur's label. It was Radioactive Records. But before he put them on Radioactive. He had them on like some imprint label. That was a thing. It looks like they're on an indie label, and then they get picked up by a major. But the whole time they were on, and that was through MCA Records. It was his imprint.
Oh no, I remember Radioactive.
And it was paid. You guys got paid. Like it paid through them.
It was good.
And at the time, like we were so into Smashing Pumpkins at the time, and that's what we were modeling. That I mean, Scott was literally going like putting on the song, going, no, it needs to sound more like this. And
what were we doing at Red Zone? Then would have been John Porter stuff because John was always around.
John Porter. It was around John Porter.
John Porter's the reason I'm in this building.
It was amazing. John, I met
A bunch
Buddy.
of blues
I met
records.
Buddy Guy.
Dude, Buddy Guy.
J-
Do you
I
remember?
still-
Do you remember the day that Travis Tritt came in
Dude,
and hired
like,
the sushi
like
chef?
it was yesterday. I
Hired the
I was
sushi
not
chef
into
for Buddy
country
Guy.
at all. I wasn't into country at all.
He was super cool though.
Oh no! Well, here's preface that I think the week before, because they were camped out in there for a while,
Yeah,
right?
we were
That's
doing.
when you
Bonnie
camped
Raitt was
out
coming in, playing on
yeah,
Buddy
Bonnie
Guy. It was
Raitt
amazing.
came in, and then Paul Rogers came in.
Oh, dude, I was such a fan.
And Paul was cool, but he was like,
He wasn't very smart, but we
well,
love
I
you,
didn't
Paul.
know
We think
that.
you're badass.
My experience was, he was just like, oh, you're the T-boy. And I'm like, T-boy? And he's like, that's what we call you in England. You're the T-boy,
Yeah,
mate.
assistants are called
Yeah,
T-boys.
the T-boy. And I'm like, no, I'm the assistant engineer.
You
He's
were
like, you're not
offended?
you're the T-boy.
You were offended?
No, I wasn't offended, but I just had never heard it. And I'm like, okay, cool. If you want me to be the T-boy.
Spike Stent, when you listen to this, just remember you were a T-boy,
Dude,
and we think it's amazing.
Don't even get me started with Spike.
Adam
Stent.
Mosley, T-boy. all
I'm
of them.
telling you, I know
Loving the
Spike
best.
has done more than this, but
He's the best.
Massive Attack Mezzanine
best.
is like top 5. It's one of the best
Okay,
mixed
all
records.
my favorite people. John Porter, British. Tom Elmhurst, British. Spike Stent, British. Okay, CLA, you're honorary British.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, it's so many amazing.
Yeah, I never
people.
worked with CLA, but
Super sweet.
TLA. I mean, he mixed
Tommy's the
that. He
best.
mixed the second Dig record.
Did he
It was-
really?
Yeah, I went down to Enterprise and he was like, he kind of was like, well, you
Encore.
can't stay that
Encore.
Yeah, you can't
Yeah.
stay that long. Like he wouldn't let you stay that. I mean, he didn't want you telling him what to do, but I was just happy
God
to be
bless
there.
Tommy. Tommy said he's going to do
he's
the
a
show.
cool
I have to
dude.
have him do it. He's going to do it.
They're all good guys. I mean,
Best. Talented.
It's a
Jeff
small
is
world.
talented.
I've never really risen to the level of these guys, but I got this hang in the rarefied air, so I'm happy.
You know, it's so interesting because that, if you're listening, whoever listens or watches this, where Red Zone is now Glenwood Place,
Yeah.
which is now owned by Atlantic, but it had been Kendon. So I
Yeah.
started at 619 South Glenwood Place. Trent knows this. And then Red Zone was at 623. And when my brother left, my brother Steve Smith, who's a great engineer, my brothers were so important in my evolution as a studio person because they were all recording engineers and musicians. God bless them. Oldest brother Rick, Steve, and my brother David. Fantastic. I love him. But what happened was
I kind of like the music that's going. Sorry,
that's actually a band called Ripe
I'm kind of digging it.
that Joe Ciccarelli is working with
Yeah.
upstairs.
Oh, is that who walked by earlier? That
Yeah.
was Chicker. Wow, I've never met him.
So yeah, we're in rarefied air right now.
know,
I know.
totally.
I feel like every day when I walk
a
into
cool
work, I'm
sounding
in
band,
rarefied
though.
air. Very cool
Yeah.
band. Yeah, I'm in rarefied air when I
Yeah.
go into my office.
Fucking
But anyway,
what a life, man. I
cheers.
mean,
Dude, we're so
come
blessed,
on.
man. Beyond
What a
blessed. So
life.
fortunate. Oh, dude, and God bless Nade, my videographer, and Keith. And
Yeah.
God bless you guys. But
Nade's working. He wants
Nade's
to be,
badass.
he doesn't want to drink right now because he
he's not a
doesn't.
big drinker.
Oh,
He's
that's
not
cool.
Nade's
I
not a big
respect
drinker.
that.
He forgets to eat too. We have to make sure Nate
Oh.
eats. But what I was going to say is that complex of Kendon, which later became Take One, and then my brother left and went to
We
Seattle.
always just be like, Nita U47, take one.
Yeah,
No, we never
boom,
did
boom.
that, but I always thought it was funny.
But then I left and went to Red Zone.
Yeah.
And Joe McGrath, who I work with there,
Yeah, God, I had some good
I started
times.
teaching at the Grove School of Music because Jerry
Yeah.
Steckling, who was an engineer and a designer, got me down. I was terrified. Got me to teach like some etiquette class at Grove, and that's where I met Jerry Finn and
Yeah.
Andrea Housden, who later married Tom Lord Housden. Anyway,
Yep.
but we were all, and Todd Miller.
Yeah.
All these people that work with us at Red Zone, and I still see Dennis Moody. I saw
Yeah.
Dennis Moody at NAMM.
How do I know him?
He was a client at Red
I
Zone a
probably
lot,
remember him.
and there was a girl named Janet that worked at Red Zone that he
Yeah.
had a suites on. But Scott Lovelace,
Yeah,
Tim
Scott
Jaquette,
Lovelace. Tim Jaquette. Tim
dude,
Jaquette
still
was-
work with Tim.
I see Tim about once a year. He comes in. He comes into
Yeah,
Stagg
he still
Street too.
comes
He comes
in.
here.
God
and-
bless all these people.
Yeah, he sent flowers because he couldn't make it to the
Aw,
memorial. It was
super
it was
sweet.
so nice of
But
him.
that's
I need
also
to get
when I
his
first
address.
met Robert Carranza.
Yep.
And a lot of the people, I met a lot of people when I was in high school when I would
Yeah.
go visit my brothers at the record plant. But then when I worked at Red Zone and Take One, I met a lot of the people that you and I still work with, like a lot of the A&R people,
Yeah.
a lot of the engineers, a lot of the producers that I still work with, I met then. So it's the people that you're going to meet along the show
Yeah.
is kind of about like how did you end up here
Yeah,
sort of,
yeah, and
which
who-
by the
who-
way, we haven't arrived yet.
Yeah.
We're still on the journey.
No, and who
But
haven't you? Who don't piss people off. And
just be cool.
Yeah, I've got a. I mean, we're not even there yet, but
Yeah,
I've
we're
got
getting
a
there.
12-year gap of absence where I left the music
It
business.
wasn't 12 years.
It was 12 years.
I thought it was like 5.
No, it was 12.
All right, so
And
Trent and I are super tight. Trent's
She
worked
gave
for
me my
me.
first job. It was so great.
I give him his first.
I love you.
Well, his first studio job.
Yeah,
I love
it's
you
a
too.
Real job that
Anyway,
matters.
so then you're working at the Zone, and then
FBI.
oh, dude,
Julian Navarro.
Julian Navarro,
Yeah, I mean,
where
that's-
are you?
on a regular
Julian
basis?
Navarro.
He would hire John Robinson, Abe
Oh, yeah.
Laboriel, and
Oh, yeah.
George Deering.
That's also-
and those
and-
guys were the wrecking crew.
Dude,
of
and
that
also how
Latin music.
Dude, also how I met, like through John Porter, was how I met Tony Bronigal.
Yeah.
And
He's a great drummer.
the great guitar player I love. Oh my God, I forgot his name. Willie Ornelas,
Yeah.
the drummer. And then, oh my God, I'm having such a brain fade on the
He's a
guitar
great guitar
player.
player. It's not George
His wife's name
Deering,
is
so
Beth.
it's yeah.
Oh
I know
my
who you're
God,
talking
I'm a
about
retard.
too.
I will remember, and we'll edit it in.
Yeah, it's kind
But
of the same
all
way
the
about
people-
Howard Benson.
Howard
That's the
Benson.
guy I couldn't remember
Dude,
his
Howard
name earlier.
Benson's son came in recently.
Okay. See, I knew it would remember.
Dude, it
You'll
sounds
remember
crazy.
the guitar player too.
I will.
Yeah.
I can visualize his face so clearly. Oh my God.
See, the champagne helped me
I know,
remember
I
Howard.
know, yeah,
Howard was cool. He was always
Alzheimer's.
a great guy, and he knew I was interested in
Who?
like, Howard Benson. He
Oh,
knew
yeah.
besides being in a band, I was interested in like recording and stuff.
Well, and his wife, Monica, she was a badass publisher at
I
the
did
time.
not
All
know
that.
that.
We remember that. But yeah, it was funny because Howard Benson's son came in. That was like a full
that's
circle
cool.
moment.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's sort of like they just all come,
Yeah.
all come back around.
Yeah.
But we were working with, dude, so many people worked there.
Okay, wait.
Tika came in there.
Yeah. Because I remember, I think
Okay,
either
Umberto,
Joe
we
was
called you
Joe
Hamburger
was
Galactica. We did.
I didn't.
I
But
called you
Joe
Hamburger
was
Galactica.
assisting him one time, and I think I was just like, I know they call that shadowing now, but you're just like hoping
was
no one
rough.
kicks you out of the room. And every time he'd turn an EQ and it crackled, he'd just look around at Joe and give him like the look
Oh,
of death. And it's
God.
like, dude, it's just that, it wasn't even that old of a board.
It was an 80B,
Okay,
that board.
No, he was in the front. He was on the VR.
Oh.
Okay, we got to get back to this.
Yeah.
So anyways, what's his name comes in, calls me a T-boy, bad company
Johnny.
guy.
Johnny was a guitar player. Johnny, oh, fuck.
Okay.
You'll remember
Well,
this
you'll
guy. He
remember
played
that
in all the
first
shit
name.
that John Porter did.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I
we'll
don't
remember later.
And then so I'm like,
Johnny Lee? Johnny
okay,
Lee?
they're bringing
Johnny
in
Lee?
a bunch of great guys, but then Travis Tritt's coming in.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, who's Travis Tritt? I don't know shit about country music. He freaking 4 hours before he gets there, he brings in a whole sushi bar, like that whole little lobby area
There's
was
a sushi
chef and a sushi bar, and all the alcohol that is anybody wants to drink. And I'm like, wow, this guy's really classy, man. He knows how to. And then he rolls in like 3 hours later. Everyone's liquored up and happy, and he's got Miss America, the
Yes,
current Miss
he was
America,
going out with
under
Miss
his
America.
arm. And I'm like, this guy is like,
Dude, and he
was
loved-
super nice.
Dude, he was so sweet, is so sweet.
Yeah.
And he loved Buddy Guy.
Yeah.
And
that's why he was there. Yeah.
And the thing was that Buddy told me, he was like, and Travis, if you ever hear this, do not be offended because Buddy loved you and thought you were amazing.
Yeah.
But Buddy, old school Mississippi bluesman, didn't eat sushi. And he said to me, he goes, Candace, he probably does now, but he was like, I don't eat bait.
Yeah.
Like, you got to go tell Travis, I don't eat
Totally
raw fish.
Southern thing.
We had
My
fish
mom
for-
still won't eat.
Yeah, he's
that
like,
kind of
I
shit.
don't
She's
eat
from the
raw
South.
fish. And I was like,
Yeah, I'm surprised
I'm going to
you
go
eat raw
tell
fish.
Travis Tritt.
Bait.
Dude, on those
Yeah.
same sessions, there's a Bonnie Raitt story that I'll tell you.
I kind of
camera.
missed. I don't know what happened. I don't know what I was playing hooky or something. I missed out on the whole Bonnie Raitt thing, which would have been really cool. And you'd be in the breezeway, and the Ventures would be there.
Oh yeah.
Oh, there.
Did we? Was it when it was it Red Zone where we had a party, and I thought it was going to be a great idea to make margaritas in chili for like 100 people, and I went ballistic. I have no idea why I did that, and made like this giant like cauldron of chili. Which, by the way, chili for a party. Don't do
Not
that.
good for a barbecue either.
Yeah.
Beach, no.
Chili's good for Super Bowl. That's it. Forget about it. But anyway, so Red Zone was very formative, and that time frame was very formative for both of us. I mean,
I can't believe no one ever really, how has the tower, the echo chamber tower in the front of the.
my office was in that
Yeah,
room.
I don't. When I went back there about 4 years ago, and Kit was really cool. She gave me some artwork, and I still have it in red.
Yeah, I saw her at
Stagg
the
Street.
memorial.
And was she there?
She was there.
Oh fuck! I didn't get. Well,
She and Laura were there at the outside.
that's sad because I didn't get.
We haven't gotten there yet. We're gonna get there.
I couldn't talk to everybody.
That's all right.
But
Dude, the echo chamber is still an echo chamber.
I know, but they're not using. No, I don't think they're.
They're not using it.
I don't think they're using it for an echo chamber. And I'm like,
It was an office, and it was every time the
they
phone
made it into
would
this
ring.
really hip-looking breezeway thing.
Oh no, the garden's amazing. Yeah, but yeah, when we were there was no hip garden.
No,
but
it was,
and I barely
had outdoor carpet that was tearing off.
I know, and I barely got the waterfall working in the pit. Remember the lounge? And it was so dank.
I still have dreams about the pit because we couldn't go down there, or no one really wanted to go down there, or no one would.
Well,
let
my
us.
office kind of ended up being in there, and then there was a loft. There's a loft
There's
in
like
the pit.
secret areas in that place, man.
Well, Kendon, we talked to someone recently about Tom Hidley, Glenn Phoenix, who started Westlake, Tom Hidley, the designer, of course, Westlake speakers, crossovers, etc., and Kent Duncan. And together they had Sierra Audio.
Okay.
And Kendon, where you and I were on Glenwood Place, that lava rock.
That's
the cork. Dude, they were into acoustics.
That wasn't Westlake, or was that kind of Westlakey too? The cork
no,
and
Westlake
the
is
lava
the
rock.
same.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, so that and I don't know if Kendon was the first expression of that design.
That's a
but
really
the whole
cool
live
vibe.
in, dead end, drop ceiling in the control room. And then the cork and the lava rock, but always about acoustics. I mean,
lava
it was
rock and cork is bad.
Yeah, it was a late 60s, 70s version. I mean, the building we're in is 60s.
Yeah.
But that was like 70s. And dude, sound good. Those rooms sound good.
Yeah, they do.
Sound good still. Owned by Atlantic now, Glenwood Place.
Yeah.
That's the street it's on, by the way, Glenwood Place.
I still go down memory lane.
So now I left Red Zone and then I went to Sound Castle. What happened? Did you go into real estate shortly? Like this had been in 94.
Yeah, no. So that real estate's like at least 10 years later than that. So, okay, so Dig got their record deal and they did their EP, and I guess it did well enough to where then they did a full length album, and that's when they surpassed me. They basically said, we need a name guy, and they got Dave Jordan to do it.
Great.
And the record sounds great, and they did it at Stagg Street.
Oh, how crazy is this?
And the engineer, oh boy, he's got an acoustic company now. In LA in the Valley,
and he was working with Dave Jordan. Dave Jordan's a great engineer.
Jordan's engineer, and Dave was really cool because Dave allowed me to come in some of the sessions when
Dave
were
had
mixing.
El Dorado.
Yeah, I went into El Dorado and like hung out with him when he was mixing because he had all those 4-at drum trigger things. And he was putting the samples in.
Dude, I went to Sound Castle thinking I was going to do all this cool like grunge because he had just done Alice in Chains Facelift and Ritual to Habitual Jane's Addiction.
Yeah.
And then I got there and it was cool, but it ended up being gangster rap.
Yeah.
So, which is fine, but it was just a transition.
Not what you expected.
Yeah.
So they made that record, and just because I was hanging around, Scott, he liked working with me. Scott Hackwood, the singer from Dig, and he. I don't know. I don't know how to say it. He got the gig. Gary Kerfer said, "Okay, you're a happening young guy. I want you to produce the next Ramones record."
Oh,
and then he called me up and he's like, "Hey, dude, I got the gig producing the Ramones. You want to go out there and engineer it with me?" And I was like pissing my pants. I'm just like, that's shit I grew up with. Look, I'm wearing Converse right now.
I love Ramones.
I was just so...
Dude, these are the craziest, coolest Converses I've ever seen.
I don't think Joey Ramone would approve. And like my friend Chris Leahy would definitely not approve of these, who was my mentor and turned me on to cons. But they're kind of the new age, and I don't know. They're playful. But so anyways, like then I think I'm starting to think I'm the shit. I'm like, cool, I just did this EP and it got the band, I got him a record deal, and so then we go to New York and do the Ramones record because Gary Kerfer managed the Ramones, he managed Blondie, and then Dig was, and then he tied it into where, because Scott was out there doing the Ramones, he tied it into some gigs with Dig opening for the Ramones, and so like I got in a van and was hanging out on that tour, and then I remember there's one moment that was really really cool to me, and I forgot about it. My best buddy John reminded me. He's like, remember when we went out to Gary Kerfer's house? Like it was all I know, it was on the other side of the Hudson in the country, you could look from his house and see the Hudson River, and we thought it was all swanky because it was probably loaded from Managed Talking Heads and all these guys.
It sounds gorgeous.
And we're there, and Deborah Harry's there, and probably Jerry Harry. All his bands were there, and I didn't know some of them were. But then they all decided to go to a club or something, and Deborah Harry had this little chihuahua. I'm like, she wanted to leave, and we're like, we'll hang out. And John and I babysitted Deborah Harry's dog.
Aw.
And I thought that, and she was so nice,
You know,
at the
Jerry
time,
works. I work with Jerry all the time. Still,
Yeah.
as a matter of fact, Jerry. He
There's
probably,
another funny story that
he's probably
ties
aware
into
of Stagg
Jerry.
Street, but I'll make sure that he
Yeah,
is.
yeah. I've never worked with him.
Nice, great,
But I mean,
talented.
there's some weird tie-ins with that because his Pro Tools guys at the time when Pro Tools came out, his last name is something that has to do with gold, and I'll get to that. But so then I'm flying high and I'm doing great, and just probably like with most engineers and or producers' career, then things aren't going so great, and you're not
Yeah, then
getting
you're not
work,
that
and I'm
busy.
like, fuck, man, okay, and then I'd met Robert Carranza because he was assisting on the Dig record. And he introduced me to Melody, and I either called him or we were talking. He's like, man, you got to go see Melody, man. Go out to Stagg Street and work there. And at the time I was kind of like, yeah, but they don't have a Neve. And I was like, really like, I didn't know
There's an
shit.
API.
I know, but I didn't know shit. And so I what I knew was what was comfortable for me. Like when we went to make that Ramones record, half the gear in that studio, it was called, what was the studio called? Baby Monster. It was like on the 11th floor in like Midtown. And like you had to walk over some bum to get in the building and stuff like that. And it had this rattle like 8108 Neve, and I knew that. But like I didn't know half
Not
the
the
gear.
best Neve though.
Yeah, but it was pretty...
So,
whatever. I don't.
8108 was the beginning of the end
wait,
for Neve.
it wasn't 8108 then. 8028. What do you got?
8028 good.
What do you got in there?
8108.
And
8028.
What is that? 2, 3?
Yeah, it's an 8028.
Yeah,
that
it was an
modded.
8028. It was
Yeah.
no, it was a good Neve. It wasn't the bad
Yeah,
Neve.
yeah.
I just get confused
It's
with
all
the
right.
numbers. And
okay.
it had 1073s in it or whatever,
Very,
1084s.
that's
good
an
Neve.
8028 or a 38. That's good.
And but I didn't know. I didn't even know how to edit 2-inch at the time. I literally had only made a couple things.
Takes courage to cut 2-inch.
And
balls.
and we realized we
Consciously.
needed to make some edits and like this is what's cool about some people, and there's some people like, I won't name people, but there's guys that worked at at Red Zone that wouldn't have been cool and said, fuck it, you don't know how to edit 2-inch, you're on your own, tough shit. And there was this guy, his name's Bryce Goggin. He's super cool. He's still on the East Coast. I think I know he's produced some cool stuff.
He edited for you?
He just said, you know what, I got your back. And so
dude.
like he kicked the band out of the room, and then he walked me through it and showed me what to do. Instead of like calling me out for not knowing how to edit,
We love
he
this
totally
guy.
supported me. He
Nice
ended
guy.
up doing that Space Hog record, and
I
he
love
was
him.
the most laid back, cool, just like, hey,
like
whatever it
Space
takes.
Hog.
And
Might have to have a Space
I
Hog
learned so
day
much from
at
his
the office one
demeanor
day.
because instead of being competitive, like, all right, this guy's going to fall down and I'll get the gig. He was like, let me support you, dude. And I told him, I'm like, I don't know what this limiter does. I don't know what this does. I've never seen that. And so I freaking fumbled my way through the record. And only because it was the Ramones and we were trying to make it sound like an old Ramones record, it kind of worked in my favor because
It was lo-fi.
it was totally lo-fi. I was bitching. The only problem was like there was a time when Joey called me up and he's like, you're not getting my vocal sound right. And he's like, you got to call Ed Stasium and talk to him. And I'm like, oh no, I'm going to get fired. And all of Ed Stasium was like, dude, it's just a Cooper time cube. That's it. Get a microphone and a hose. If you anyway, so that happened, and so then I was riding high after that, but then I kind of rode low, and then I went and started working at Stagg Street as an assistant, and I worked on some bitchin' shit. I mean, I got to work with Chaka Khan, and they did a lot of. I learned how to record jazz there. I didn't know how to record anything to do with jazz, and the owner Gary taught me how to record jazz, and
Dude, what's going on upstairs is super
I know,
cool
it's
right
cool.
now.
I'm digging it, man. There's some like Allman
Yeah, it's
Brothers
super cool.
vibey. It's kind of Southern fried and a Southern fried
it's
progressive.
Very good rock happening
I'm
up
digging
there.
it. So then I was there for a while, and and that's how I met another set of mentors. You were like my first mentor in the business.
Watch out.
Then Gary and Melody, they were like family, man. I'd watch football games with them. I'd play golf with Gary, and
We are good. We're getting there.
yeah, we're getting there. And then
Yeah.
and then I'm gonna start crying.
No, it's all right.
And then I left there, and then I
What?
had some. So then I'm working there, and this freaking Scottish bastard comes in and
Ah.
working, and the first thing I do,
Gavin McKillop.
I think Ross Hogarth
Is that
was
who we're
going
talking
in,
about?
yeah, but Ross Hogarth was going in there, and there was this guy named Paul Mitchell was going in there, and both Ross and Paul at that time could be kind of a abusive on assistants, but that's all right. It's all good. Ross
has
is
been
like
on
a
the show.
teddy
He's
bear
really funny.
now.
His episode's really
He's
funny.
so awesome.
Awesome.
He, but like you remember people for that, and you're like, are they still like that? But anyways, I'm not knocking it. But
We breaking cameras?
And then, yes, I'm rambling on. So then I
No,
meet
you're
Gavin, and the first thing we do in there is the Friends theme. And so that blows up, and then Gavin's,
yeah.
and he'd already had
Dude, the
success with
Rembrandts.
Toad the Wet Sprocket and stuff.
Dude,
and,
I love that band.
the Rembrandts were so, Danny Wilde is the funniest,
Dude,
one of
I
the
love
funniest,
Toad the
quick-witted
Wet
guys.
Sprocket.
Yeah, and Gavin, he did all that stuff.
Great band.
And Gavin, we're working in there, and then this is another bullshit your way into the business story, and it ties into Jerry Harrison slightly. We're working there, and then Gavin, I guess I knew my shit, or I'm really just good with people. I don't really know what I'm doing.
I'm not good with people at all.
No, not at all. So I'm in there, and then Gavin's like, "Hey, I got this record I'm doing, and we'd worked on a few projects, and we had the same sense of humor. We were extremely sarcastic and just like British sense of humor." And he's like, I've got to go to New York to make this record. Oh yeah, he's amazing, and he's I can't say enough about. He's one of the most gracious, nicest guys you'll ever meet, and he treats everyone so good. He knows. I learned how to treat people well and why you do that. Anyways,
good tipper.
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything. He also I also learned how to send food back from him. He's like, hey, if you're paying for it and it's not good, there's nothing wrong with sending it back.
I'm too Southern.
Yeah,
I can't send it back.
That's how my mom is. She's like, oh, you can't do that. Anyway, so I'm working with him, and he goes, yeah, I'm going to New York to do that. I got this gig doing this guy, and I need a Pro Tools. Everybody wants to use Pro Tools, and we'd gotten Pro Tools there, and I knew how to run it, and he didn't. And he's like, you want to do this with me? And I'm like, yeah, I'll build a rig for you. I know what I'm doing. And I did. I mean, I kind of, but I bullshitted my way into a club telling him I'd build a PA for him. And I just went to Guitar Center and said, hey, I need a PA. And I kind of did the same thing with RSPE. I had him who is still in existence today. And I had
the band?
It was this guy named Johnny Diesel, but he was popular in Australia. He'd already made his name as a rock blues guitarist, as Johnny. Most Aussies know who he's in from a certain time period. But his name's Mark Lazat. Okay. And we were making a record in New York, and so we built this Pro Tools rig and racked it up and went out there, and we're in this studio. I can't remember the name of the first studio, but it was rad. It was like a basement studio. It was like being in a submarine. And only thing I mean, the guy's a great guitar player and singer. But he hired Prairie Prince on drums, who was in the Tubes, and that guy's got the heaviest freaking foot.
I'm a huge Prairie Prince fan.
And he was super cool too. And I was pretty young, and these guys were older than me, and they knew what they were doing. And so we're in there recording, and then they're like, okay, this is great. And Mark had worked with Jerry. He'd done the first half of his record with Jerry Harrison out in San Francisco. And so he's like, okay, we need to edit this, move that. And there's 5 guys over my shoulders going, okay, edit. And I didn't know
how to edit on Pro
I didn't know that you group the drums to move a snare. No one told me. I just never had to edit on those things. I was kind of it's a good take. It's not a good take. Let's get the take again. Even with the Ramones, I had to finally learn how to edit takes together. And so then I'm moving the snare, but the rest of the drums aren't moving. So it's ghosting and shit, and the artist knew right away. And so and I'm like, oh, and they kind of just tolerated me. I mean, it was the first day of tracking.
Oh,
they tolerated me, and then that night Gavin was like, hey, you kind of suck at editing, or the artist is not going to be able to work with you, so you're getting fired. And they're going to bring out. They got on the phone, and they're going to bring out Jerry Harrison's guy from. This is when
brutal.
This is when not many people knew. Pro Tools was extremely new. I don't think many people knew how to run it. Obviously, I
defend you because I hated it then.
Well, I don't know why I wasn't putting 2 and 2 together.
It's
but
fine
it was
now, but I hated it then.
And so I was on. I thought it was brilliant. But
Fuck
at
the
the
beginning
time,
of Pro Tools.
but so basically he could have just sacked me and just said, you know what, you lied to me. I thought you knew how to run this shit. But instead of doing that, and I'll be eternally grateful for this to this guy. He goes, so they're going to fire you. You're fired. You're not going to get paid anymore. And they're bringing in this hot shot, or the guy that knows what he's doing, and they're going to finish the record. So, he goes, but I negotiated to keep you here for another week. They're going to give you a per diem and pay for your hotel room, and I want you to watch this guy. and I want you to see what he's doing,
Dude,
and
what
then
a
I'll keep working with. Yeah, it was amazing.
sweetheart.
So he must have appreciated me as a person or something other than my
You still work
other than
together.
my pro, because Javin's an amazing engineer in his own right. So he wasn't hiring me as an engineer. I was the Pro Tools guy.
Yeah.
And so I basically, then we moved to John Glass. So we did all the tracking, and then when that guy came in, we moved to John Glass's studios, which oddly enough was right above a pizzeria. And so I ate pizza every day, and
Trent
I
makes
watched
the
this
most
kid.
amazing
I'm
pizza
so
ever.
obsessed with pizza. Thank you. I think
great
I think
pizza
it's pretty good.
really
And I'm telling you, this guy came out and he was super, like, he could have been a dick too, but he was super cool. Maybe they prefaced it. Maybe Gavin had softened it up, going, "Look, just help my guy out." And like it took a half hour in the first lunch of the first day, and he goes, "Oh, all you need to do is this, that." And I watched him. I'm like, "Oh fuck," and he's like, "Yeah, dude, it ain't rocket science." And then the rest of the week, I really didn't have to watch shit. I just hung out in the room and ate pizza, and went down and got pizza. I would go down. It was above this place called Two Boots, which they had in downtown LA for a while. It was Sicilian New York. I don't know. It was a boot of New York, and the boot of Italy was Two Boots. Anyways, and I just ate pizza and went out and carried on till
Oh, I
4
love
a.m.
it.
with Gavin. And then I worked for him for 8 years, and he was just, we had so much fun. We traveled all over the place. And I shot my best round of golf playing with Gavin because he's from Scotland, and
dude.
he taught me so many things. He was kind of like, he's not that much, he's only 2 years older than me, but he was like a father figure. He taught me how to treat people right. He taught me how to order food properly, or how to send food back, how to kind of be high maintenance when you need to be. But like, he taught me how to play golf. Like, dude, you don't ride in a cart.
You're gonna have
You
a chance on my
freaking
birthday to
walk.
play golf.
I know. And I know it's going to be in a cart, but like, that dude, we've never played golf in a cart
You
ever.
just walk. Well,
No,
that's how you get the
look
exercise.
at the game differently. No, but you also see you think when you're going to your ball, you trace your ball flight, you walk directly, you don't go off on some cart path and have a shot. It's very cerebral, and it's like you're in tune with nature. You're seeing the terrain, and I tend to shoot about 10. When I played regularly, I would always shoot 10 strokes higher when I rode in a cart.
Oh, nice.
You suck when it's for
You're
weekend
kind of
warriors.
disconnected. I think that makes sense that you would keep on.
I'm really
follow the
bohemian
path.
in that way. Anyways, I like to get into the zen of it, and walking and golf is a thing. And that's why pros don't ride in carts. You see it.
They walk.
They walk.
Yeah.
And you don't
Most
when
of
you
them.
play they don't even have carts at freaking St. Andrews. When you play there, you hire a caddy and you walk. Anyways, so then I worked with him, and that was
so
good.
we're kind of we glossed over that Trent took a break and went away from recording, and then it wasn't so
I
much.
played a bunch of music though when I left.
Yeah, you played a bunch of music, and then
it was fun.
it wasn't so much. We did lose touch.
Yeah, we
a little
totally
bit,
lost. Pretty much.
But
yeah.
we're good. We're
Yeah. You and Melody were like the first two people. When I knew I was moving back up, I was like, you gave me my first gig, and we always had a good time hanging out,
Always had fun.
working together. So why wouldn't I?
So Trent is glossing over, but he was actually very successful in real estate. I think he did
fairly.
good.
I mean, I made more money than I was making in music. That's for sure.
Yeah,
But it's kind of
that's a common thread.
yes.
But it's
Children.
interesting how it pulls you back in, and you can't give it up, and it's just in you. It's like a magnetic
Robert
pull.
Carranza, when I moved back up here, I met with him over. He had like a studio with Jack Johnson or something on Larchmont.
On Larchmont, yeah.
And he's like, and I was basically coming up here to meet
Robert. Robert, you got to watch Robert's episode. It's great.
I know I haven't watched it yet. I haven't listened to it yet.
It's great.
And so, I'm meeting with everyone basically because I'm starting a business from ground zero in real estate, and I'm trying to meet with people and just make connects so I can maybe sell them some houses or something, buy them a house, whatever. And I got pretty good at it, and I got extremely good at negotiating contracts.
I have no doubt.
Which I loved. Well, that's what I loved about real estate the most.
Very similar to studio management, by the way.
It's really people management.
I know.
It's really about managing expectations.
Getting paid.
Yeah, it is.
How to get
And
paid.
managing people when they're freaking out.
How am I going to get paid?
Yeah. How am I gonna? Yeah. And so and so then he's like, so we're sitting in there, and I'm like, oh fuck, man, it's great to be in the studio again. And he's like, so you gonna get back into it? I'm like, no, those days are over. Fuck that,
please.
And then like a less than a year later, my wife's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm selling real estate in LA. I'm gonna become a player. And she's like, all you do is come home and bitch every night about freaking. And I'm like, really? I do? And she's like, yeah, you do. And she's like,
I'm going to see Nancy at 10 o'clock tomorrow. I love her.
Why don't you hang out with, why don't you get back? This is what you're meant to do. Like, she's the one that knew. And I didn't know. I was in denial. And, you know.
Because boys are dumb and women are smart.
She's organized. She's beautiful, organized, smart. And
She's amazing.
I'm kind of just dopey.
Oh, and she lived the dream with the hair cutting.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
But
I live vicarious.
Yeah,
My beauty school dropout is lived vicarious through her.
Through a hairdresser.
I met her at the whiskey.
I love it.
I had 2 rum and cokes, one in each hand, and I walked up to her and spilt them both.
Oh, that's always a good way to meet a girl. Spill a drink on her. So, hey, worse things have happened.
In the Velvet
I met Brian
Jones.
at the Cat and Fiddle, dude.
Yeah, totally. I played the Cat and Fiddle.
Jumped all over. So, I love. I'm so happy that you're back. I'm so happy you're doing what you're meant to be doing.
Yeah,
and I want to shine a light, and you can go into it. But you talked about going back to Stagg Street and kind of getting back in and working at Stagg Street and starting to do sessions and assisting. And I know you, and I know how you are, how caring you are, and wanting to make everything better. You know, just they have great gear there, great vintage gear. It's a great studio at Stagg Street. It's been around for a long time.
Damn good sounding room too.
And great sounding room. And Melody and Gary, I didn't know them well, but when I first started, it was like 85, 86. And they first started, they were, they had been around for a minute already, but I remembered calling Melody, and I talked about that at the memorial. I remembered calling Melody and going like, is this like common practice? Now I'm a veteran manager, I would say. Life as it being cyclical as it is, Trent's back up in LA. He's
lucky.
He's hanging out, talking about getting back into music. And he started doing some sessions at Stagg and helping out Melody at Stagg Street. And
I was really like the Schneider. I mean, she was when Gary died. Once again, Carranza let me know Gary died. And that was Melody's husband, and he died in 2015.
Yeah.
And I called her. I'm like, if you need anything, when are you gonna have a memorial? I gotta be there. He was like, LA dad.
Yeah.
And then she didn't ever do anything, and I stayed in touch with her a lot after then because I knew she just needed friends.
Yeah.
And when I moved back up here, she was literally, you were the second. She was the first person I went and saw when I unpacked my bags. I went to Hoggly Woggly, got some barbecue.
Nice.
And it's funny because I'm back in LA and shit, and I'm like, wow, I'm sitting there having lunch with her. And then freaking Vinny Caluta walks in the door, and I'm like,
of course.
Fucking A, this is amazing. I can't believe it that I'm actually going to meet Vinny Caluta. And I was
this is when it matters that you don't zoom in remotely. This is when it matters that you're in the
That
town.
was amazing. I couldn't believe it. And she's like, oh, yeah, Vinny comes in here all the time. And I'm just like, dude, this is like, he's like,
Vinny, we're going to get you on here. You're my favorite drummer of all time.
So
and all you other drummers who I love, Keltner, Chad.
I tell
Chad
you
Wackerman,
what, man.
all you guys. I dig
Chris
me some
Dave
Vinny.
is fried. We just had him in for 4 days. He's freaking on a...
Dude, he was just here
he's
last
insane.
week.
I didn't really get to meet him.
He was just here Saturday.
I just kind of said hi to him. But
by the way,
I want to shake his hand.
I lost a D12E on that session on Saturday, so I'm looking for that if you see one show up.
It's funny. I was thinking that when I was going to the bathroom. Like I had a D12, and that was one of the coveted things because I've never been really much of a gear hound, and I sold everything when I left LA because I'm like, fuck this, I'm done, blah blah blah. I sold my house like a dipshit, and everything because I was heartbroken. That was a whole nother story.
Yeah.
And my wife and I split up, but now we're back together.
Everything's fine.
So whatever. Could have avoided that all by not breaking up, but whatever. And so like she was a smart one because she told me, she's like, why are you selling the house? But I was just like being a hurt guy. But I sold everything but the Telefunken Pre I had, which I still have, which is cool. And
so you go back and you see Melody.
I see her and I see you, and I just like. And I'm living in Hollywood. I'm living in the media district. I'm living right by Cole Rehearsal. I'm living like walking distance to Cole, right to that little liquor store and stuff. And so and then the energy, and then Robert, I go meet Robert, and he's like, so you're going to go back into it? I'm like, and then like, I'm telling you, I don't know how to explain it. If you live out of town for a while or out of LA and you come back into, well, especially when you move back when you move back into Hollywood or the media district, not only the music, like in San Diego or any other town, there's not a billboard for every movie that's coming out. It's only in LA you're seeing this shit. And then there's this ball of freaking energy that
Ashley was saying that earlier, my friend.
if you've ever, I don't know.
It's an electric
I don't know
current.
if you feel it because I worked in this business before, or not. But it was extremely strong, and it was really getting me high. And like, I was doing good down in San Diego, and the only reason we left is because my wife was like, I'm unhappy here. And then everyone goes like, the common word is like, how could America's finest city, how could anyone not like San Diego? She didn't dig it.
She's bored.
She's bored.
Yeah.
It's boring. You can't even get food after 8 p.m. practically, maybe downtown now. But anyways, so we moved back, and she's like,
it's endless.
do I want to be...
no more for you.
Do I want... That's fine. I'm on the water. Do I want to be unhappy with a woman down here? No, because trust me,
happy wife, happy life.
She wasn't happy, and I love her. And then I'm like, but she was gonna go without me. That's Nancy. She was like, I'm going. Are you coming? And I'm like,
oh, shit.
Fuck. You know, do I want to be lonely down here? That didn't work out good the first time.
Why am I holding out for San Diego?
So and then I realized, and that's something that's a quality she does not have, which I can understand, but it's a quality I have. My happiness goes with me wherever I go. My environment does not dictate my happiness. But when I moved back up here, I was like so happy to be back in LA. Like, even though I'd left, I mean, I basically dropped a freaking really good business, and I was gigging and I was singing, and my freaking chops were up, and I was singing. I was really having fun playing. It was really, because when I'm working on other people's music, I only focus on their project, and all my shit goes to the side, which is kind of happening now. And I want to start playing again this year. Just for the fun. I just like the process. Anyways, so I'm back up here, and I'm really going, man, it's just, there is an energy up here, and it totally sucked me back in. And I'm living in Hollywood, and I'm driving down, hanging out at the studio, visiting with Mel, and I'm realizing there's a lot of deferred maintenance, and it's looking kind of run down. And so I just started helping her out because she's a friend. I mean, it's just that's as simple as it is. Yeah. And then by some weird reason, my wife's parents, they needed help. They both had Alzheimer's, and they were being abused where they were living. So you moved to the valley? So we moved to the valley, quickly rented this house really quick, and moved them in with us, and it happens to be less than 5 miles from the studio.
Gotcha.
So then I'm caregiver for my wife's parents. It's a long story, but she wasn't too cut out being caregiver for her parents, and so then I'm caregiving. And they're great because they barely speak English, and they're passive.
Japanese, God bless
them.
them.
I'm like making miso soup and all this shit totally from scratch.
Here are Japanese people that I can't talk to. Here's some food.
And her dad is hardcore. He doesn't eat any kind of food. He won't eat a burger. Maybe you can get him to eat a steak. He will not eat a burger. He will not eat French fries. He will not eat freaking
nothing American.
It's got to be Japanese food.
I love this guy.
And so I learned how to make. I can make rad miso soup from scratch. I make the broth of vigor.
Did you like my enchiladas? They were kind of bland,
your enchiladas. I thought they were pretty good. And if you made them from scratch, all the better. I was really good. So I go down the rabbit hole on that stuff. So I learned how to make the miso
Just
soup.
like Keith.
I was making.
He's growing the tomatoes to make the sauce.
Totally. I mean, I'm almost growing the wheat in my backyard to make the. Like
he's got a grist.
I don't know if anyone knows.
He's grinding the wheat.
I might get chickens.
Dude, we totally need chickens and goats. We digress.
So I'm making all this food from scratch. Even the Japanese curry. I'm like going to these weird extremes to make the Japanese curry paste because I want them to like it.
Dude, why do we care so much?
I want them to. Well, also
Nancy and Brian benefit from you and me giving a crap.
Yeah, they totally benefit. Nancy's hating it right now because I'm working my ass off, and she's not used to it as much, and so like
you're not getting dinners.
She ain't getting the gourmet meals as much.
I'm making shrimp po' boy later tonight.
That sounds rad.
Make the remoulade.
Oh boy. See, I don't know how to make that.
It's basically Thousand Island, or my version is Thousand Island dressing with hot sauce.
There you go.
That's how I.
That works for me.
With some lemon juice. Anyway.
Okay. Wow. Where was
those of you who are from New Orleans?
So I'm back down there, and then I'm 5 miles away, and I'm caregiving for these 2 senior citizens who are nice, but they both have Alzheimer's, and it's pretty
stressful.
It can't. Well, I mean, you just need to get away from it. I found joy in it. I found a lot of joy in it.
Oh, that's cool. I felt the same.
I was happy to help them, and I was actually pretty good at it, but I need to get out of the damn house from time to time. And so I would go to the studio, and I would just hang out, and I'm like, this needs fixing. And I'm handy. I don't know why. I mean, electrical, I don't really like to mess with too much, but plumbing, anything, painting, carpet, whatever. You can't bullshit me. I've had people try and bullshit me.
You'll figure it out.
And so anyways, I just fixed the damn sink at my wife's salon because they couldn't figure it out. I went over there. Anyway, so that was weird. So.
Oh, let me guess. It was clogged with hair.
No, it wasn't. It was like I don't want to say.
Pipe was
They didn't
disconnected.
want to pay. The owner of the building didn't want to pay for a plumber, so they like got flex tape, and we just needed a new pipe. And flex tape ain't the answer for everything.
Okay.
Anyways, even though you can make a boat out of it,
There you go.
which I'd love to have. So then I'm just there. I'm there, and then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get back into it. And then Melody's like, you sure? You sure? And I'm like, yeah, I'm freaking 55 years old. I'm gonna assist. And then at first I was just like, God, this is so freaking degrading. I'm like, I'm assisting, and I'm like way beyond the prime of like most assistants are in their 20s. And then I don't know what it was, but something switched in my head. Well, it was probably because I worked with like
Calcutta.
90. Yeah, that happened. And then like I got gigged. Then he would just have me be his engineer whenever he worked at Stagg Street. So I was getting some engineering, but I was still assisting, and I felt like awkward and embarrassed because I was having to assist. And then something switched. And I don't know what it was. It was probably all the great musicians, and I realized they don't give a fuck.
They don't care.
And
they're not 12.
And me being me, giving them a great experience and making sure they got a bottle of water. It wasn't about like patching shit. It was about like, do you need a Kleenex? Oh, you got bottle. Oh shit, we already have everything, Trent. We don't need anything. And the way it made them feel and how they treated me, and then it just became this great fucking fun thing, because I'm like, no, I quickly relearned that room, and it's like that's the easy part. You're just patching some shit in, and the engineers play. You don't even got to know how to place a mic, because the engineer's going to place them the way they want and tell you there's no wrong way. I can tell you, I now know that. You can put a freaking mic 4 inches off the tom, 5 inches, the 3-finger method that Dennis Dager told me, or watch Val Garay put a mic freaking, I'm telling you, less than a half inch from the tom, and it sounds great.
I would say mic placement makes a difference, but the acoustic space that you're in is what's
I
super
think
important.
that space makes a difference, and mic placement does make a difference, but there's about 5 ways I've seen 20 ways you can mic up a piano, and they all sound amazing if the guy doesn't suck on piano.
Yeah.
And so I've got a really weird philosophy now. It's not like I go up there willy-nilly. I still do what every engineer does, and they tweak with the mics. But it's like I try different shit all the time, and I almost never do the same thing twice, because now
That's kind of fun.
Now I don't give a fuck, and I'm experimenting at all times.
It's super fun to experiment, though, and in full circle for Trent is he's back in Stagg Street. He's been helping Melody, making stuff nicer. And unfortunately, Melody got sick.
Yeah, and let me add to this too, because it's something I'm conscious about. I don't know why, but it's just the way the mind works. So when I came back in and started hanging out, then she's like, "Hey, I'm thinking about selling the the 251 and the U67s and shit." And I'm like, "Fuck." I go, Melody, you sell those, and you might maybe want to close this shop up, because that's one thing. It's got a pretty decent tube mic locker, and that's the reason a lot of people go there. It makes it great mics make things easy on engineers.
Yep.
And also people get weird in their heads about it. So I bought some of the mics, and like I bought the Blue Stripe, and I bought the freaking Dynamites, because I'm obsessed with those things, even though they only do one thing. They turn any studio into the townhouse and give you that Phil Collins drum sound, for those who don't know. And so I put money in, and then I was like conniving, going, "How can I buy this plug?" Now I'm all in, right? And so then Melody and
the
Gary.
universe is interesting.
It's weird how this shit happens, man. Why did we move back to LA?
Why did you come
I
at
didn't
that
know
time?
at the time why we moved back to LA. And then we moved back to help my wife's parents. And then I'm 5 miles from someone else that needed help. So then I'm trying to buy this place, and I'm trying to talk her into carrying the financing, because that's how the people they bought it from carried the financing.
The universe puts you where you're supposed to be.
I'm telling you,
if you have faith,
don't be a dick.
A good person.
Treat
Yeah,
people
you're a good person.
Sow good seeds. I don't know if it happens to everybody, but I'm telling you,
I've been so lucky.
I don't know how more luckier I can be. And even though I didn't come up I was a Neve guy and now I'm like, now I love them all, but I really like APIs, because now I know how to get sound out of them.
It's a rad console. It's the one console I don't have here. If I had another room, I'd put one in.
You know what it is? Class A gear makes your job easier. That's all it is. It just, you don't have to fuss. I don't even EQ anymore, hardly.
It's there's no flies on any
it's like
of these consoles.
try making your record on a Mackie, and then try and make it on a Neve API, and then you realize it's not anything. It's just, you just turn shit on.
Or an A-range. There you go.
I'm thinking about, and I'm trying to think about how to buy it, and at the same time, I have to say this just because I feel weird about inheriting the studio.
We hadn't quite
I don't
got
know
there yet.
why. I know, but I'm getting ahead.
Trent inherited
Yeah.
Stagg Street when Melody
so
passed.
Melody
and
got
there's
cancer.
only because Melody knew that she was leaving it with the person who would honor the legacy that she and Gary started. And she was no fool. She knew your devotion. You'd already proved it. You'd been there for 5 years doing whatever she needed, fixing it up. It's appropriate.
It is.
It's right.
I know
But
that.
now you got to run the business.
I know that, and it's
You'll
taken
be
me a
fine.
while to come to terms with it.
You'll be fine.
But I guess until something gets bequeathed upon you like that, with the price that comes with it.
Well, you got to carry the legacy. It's a
I know. That's the only reason.
Aw. Don't get verklempt. You're worthy of the honor, and
I know.
you're worthy of the good fortune.
But it's still pretty raw.
Oh, I know. I know.
So, anyways,
It's appropriate.
I will have to say, I probably was the right man for the job.
I agree.
Because I was able to pull all the shit together she needed in order for this thing not to go into probate and getting everything in order. And a lot of that comes from me knowing how to kick ass in real estate and get shit done at the last minute, because that's what real estate's all about. House selling, everything's going la 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 till the loan company says we're not going to finance it. And they don't tell you this till the 11th fucking hour, and then you got to scramble. So it's huge because it's a labor of love. I freaking threw my arm out for 6 months from scraping paint off the
Dude,
wall.
you were fixing the roof before you owned it. I mean, it's nuts.
I'm such a dipshit. I finally learned a little bit, like, just hire some people. That's one thing Gavin told me. He's like, dude, we're getting old. Just hire some people. Don't ruin yourself.
Well, the good news is that the legacy lives on. Their dream lives on. Stagg Street's a great studio. You're coming, honestly, into a time when
it might be working.
I think it's a perfect time, because I think supply and demand are matching up. People are always talking to me about home studios, and that's not something I can worry about. I run a commercial facility. I can't be concerned about that. But at the same time, a few places have closed. I'm never happy about that.
I'm not either.
But the supply and the demand are kind of concurrent. And a place like Stagg Street, it's got a reputation. It sounds good. It's got good gear. You got history, reputation.
Great engineers. Like, all our assistants are completely overqualified.
Yeah.
Like I was, which means faster session. I don't know if I was selling it.
Plus, I'm going to send you overflow.
Totally, and you're
going to send me overflow.
Totally.
It's going to work out, dude. It's going to be fine.
It's going to be fine. It's really fun. I'm enjoying it so much. I'm telling you, man. About a year ago, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this, because I was barely making enough money. I don't need to make that much. I only need to make enough money to maybe buy some wine and maybe a concert ticket here and there.
Cheers.
But I don't want to get rich. I mean, because I'm rich doing what I love.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds like, whatever it sounds like, but
I
kind of realized at this point in life, I ain't going to be a millionaire.
Dude.
And then someone freaking drops a recording studio on me, and I'm like, what the hell?
Dude, I never made. I mean, I've made good money. I've made a living. I was able to buy a house and things like that, and I wish that for other people that work with me. But I never did it for that.
No, I'm into the process. I really love the process.
For me, with this place, once I got to 6,000, it's similar to you with Stagg Street. I just didn't want it to go down on my watch.
No, I mean, look at this place.
I just
the history
and
of this place.
Thanks to Doug and everything that he did here.
Totally.
But what you've done at Stagg Street and what's happening there, I mean,
it's a little baby. I mean, it's so weird.
There is a need for places like ours, and
when you need to get three guys together in the room and communicate with each other and cut music live,
dude,
you can't do it at home.
Yeah.
You may be able to do it at home, but it usually isn't the same.
Keith, who's recording this episode, and thank you so much, Keith. He's a great engineer. But there's something that happens with musicians together in a room. And that was one of the rough things about the pandemic, people doing stuff remotely.
Yeah.
There was some good stuff that happened, but you cannot replicate people playing off of each other. Then the collaboration that happens.
At the same time.
Yeah. And then the collaboration that happens when someone comes to visit. Or someone's in the lounge and someone walks by and it's like, oh, hey, a hip hop guy, he's a cellist or
that's one cool thing about this place is you have more rooms, like so it's very isolated, but you get that and you get like cross culture
collaboration,
cross collab.
Even at your place, someone could come in, be visiting or dropping something off or picking something up and then be like, oh, hey, you're here. Like, oh, cool, let's do something together.
I know. I might start doing some guitar overdubs, and like someone asked me today. They're
Brian
like,
still
"Can you
wants to
play
write with
guitar
you."
on this stuff?" And I'm like, "You want me to play? Like, I suck.
Dude, Brian
I
thinks
suck,
you're,
but I know
Brian
it's
thinks
cool."
you're a great writer. He still
Yeah.
wants to write with you. We'll see what happens. But anyway, I'm good.
I
I'm
know
good.
it's gonna happen. At
Yeah,
some
it's going to
point.
happen. I just think that things happen the way they're supposed to. The universe provides. And
Well, this
I'm
is where I
so
am.
grateful to you for being on the podcast.
Yeah.
And people, when you're listening, again, just to emphasize, there's no one way to get anywhere. Just keep believing in yourself. Just keep
Yeah.
kind of stumbling along your path.
It's tricky business to get into, man.
It is.
Just do what you got to do to. If you really love it, you might make a lot of money.
You could do
You could do very well, and
Yeah.
you might realize you don't need to make a lot of money, but
Yeah, no,
you gotta love what you gotta
completely.
love doing this, man. You gotta love music, otherwise, duh. I mean, that's kind of stupid. But the point is, you got to stay. You got to remember, okay, and
It's about music.
and also, like, lay positive shit in front of you. Don't be competitive to the point to where you're now a dick to people. Because
Well, and I think I say this all the time. A lot of engineers are more, if even if you're kind of green, if you have a good vibe, they will want you on the session
It's so-
and they will impart knowledge because people want to teach. People want to help other people, and people want to further on the next generation. People want to help. People want to help people.
Yeah.
I mean, unless they're assholes, which
Yeah.
I don't know those people, so I don't want to be those people.
No, you
But yeah,
gotta be
you help
cool.
people.
I think
I've
most
been
of the
very
great
blessed.
guys. I think most of the great guys. I mean.
Dude, look, I've been training my own clients for 20 years.
You're amazing. But that's what you're training them, and it's the same thing I'm trying to teach, some of the younger people that are coming through my place now.
It is your place.
I know, it's weird
Say
to
that
say.
with pride.
I'm totally proud of the place.
Yeah, dude, you should be. It's
freaking
nice.
planted a tree in the parking
Dude,
lot.
I love
I'm
that, dude.
Totally,
Keith's going to be over
Yeah.
there doing sessions. He's going to be
yeah,
hitting me up.
it's a cool place, but I think it's
got
more.
a huge-ass
I think-
fucking soundstage green room. It's fucking
Yeah, that I'm
huge.
getting ready to paint over. I'm gonna have an art show in August there.
You
My
are?
sister's coming up. She called me after the celebration of
Can
life.
we do mixed media? Can we
Dude, we're going to
video
have a
and-
jam session. We're going to jam mixed media. Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, music is art. It's another form of art, and I love painted art. I love
Music is
media
definitely
art.
art.
I mean, it's going to be some people playing music. There's going to be art. Maybe it's a DJ. I'm
Maybe
going to
there'll be some
experiment with what.
Cook it, some food.
I was
Food
thinking
is
about
art?
building a pizza oven there. Then I'd
Yeah,
be
dude.
Papa Trent. I'd
Dude,
be
you
making
have
pizza
to
for the
build
clients.
the outdoor pizza oven. Yes.
I
Oh, no,
could.
dude. This is fucking reality.
I know.
We have to get
Then when
someone.
clients come in, I'm like out there,
Dude.
oh
no. Dude,
making
this
a
needs
pizza
to happen
for
in the
them.
next couple months.
Okay.
You have got to build. First of all, we have to have a grill. So that needs
I've
to
got a
happen.
grill.
Okay. But
Walter
you've
from
got
Bill
to
Ward's
build
camp
the
dropped me
outdoor
off
pizza
a grill.
oven. Anyway, we're going to wrap up this episode. Trent, I can't thank you enough. Everybody stay tuned for the outdoor pizza oven.
Spread love. Maybe we'll do a part 2. John
we
McBride.
totally
I can't
part
wait
2.
for John McBride part 2. Did you do part 2 yet?
I have not done part 2, John McBride. I need to do
like
part 2.
he's got a crazy ass
I
story.
got to talk to Joe
love
McBride,
it.
too.
Yeah. Anyways.
Anyway, thank you
Peace
so
and
much.
love to everybody. And,
Thank you so much for being
thanks
on
for having me.
For Trade Secrets. This is Candace Stewart. I'm your host, Trent Slatton. Everybody do good. Pay it forward. Pass on the love and listen to music. Okay, bye.
Bye.